Welcome back to another episode of Bulletproof Mindset, Scotland's #1 health, fitness and entertainment podcast. So today I have Alex Caldwell on the show, and what a great conversation this is. Now, there's been a running theme of guests, and it's really interesting diving into anyone's story, let's be honest, but diving into personal trainer stories and how they got started, all the kind of ups and downs that they may have had. But today's conversation is, again, another fantastic one. I know you're going to enjoy this. We get a wee bit controversial with some statements around therapy, photo shoots, bodybuilding, all of that sort of stuff. Great conversation, great chat, and what a great guy Alex is. So before we get into today's conversation, if you don't know who he is, check out his social media handles, which are going to be in the show notes. And if you're someone who wants to get an incredible body composition results, then Alex is the go-to guy. So I'm going to leave a link to his inquiry form below as well. Now, really quick, if you're new around here and you're just coming over to hear Alex's story, look, I need a favour from you. It's totally free to do, but one of the best ways you can support the show, if you do enjoy today's conversation, is by rating it on Spotify. So please, if you can do that, that would mean the world to me. And if you're watching on YouTube, again, subscribe, leave a little comment, let us know what you thought of today's conversations, and also if you have any questions for Alex. So with all of that being said, that is enough chit chat. Enjoy today's conversation and enjoy the rest of your day.
I was only on the last podcast, I kind of went over competing quite a lot.
We won't need
to run over too much more, mate. It's kind of like definitely in the past.
Do you miss the competing side of things? Do you miss having that in your life?
Mate, not at all.
Nah?
Nah, not in the slightest, nah.
Would you? So you said in that you'll never do one again?
Aye.
No fancy it?
Nah. The only time I actually sit and think maybe I would do another one is when I look at like certain shows and I'm like, I could probably get up there and do alright. That's the only reason.
Could smoke these cunts.
100%. I know. Sometimes I'm like, fuck it, I could definitely beat them. But that's literally, I don't have a passion for bodybuilding as such. Like I love following bodybuilders and looking at them and what they're doing, but I just think the brand I built as well now is very flexible. Like people like seeing that part of me. And it seems to work for clients to come on board. I think I would be attracting like a client that I didn't necessarily want to work with if I was still bodybuilding possibly.
Yeah. Have you trained anyone to compete?
No, I wouldn't. No, because I've got like 2 clients that did 12-week peak with me like a couple of years ago who now do compete.
Oh, do they?
And
right,
I told them to work with another coach.
Someone else,
that I was comfortable doing.
It's because it's quite in depth, isn't it? It's like everything is balanced out, no room for error.
I just hate taking a stab at something I know I'm not great at.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think there's like a bit of integrity there where I'm like, well, there probably is someone who's better at this for you. And I care about your journey, and I'm not the guy to help you get to the best possible position.
It's always a hard one, that, isn't it? Either. It's like, because there's an opportunity to learn it, but then there's also, you're like, hey, I'm not even equipped for this.
Like sometimes I want to take a Saturday, Sunday off, and you're competing. I can't take a Saturday, Sunday off when you're competing. It's not going to fucking happen. So I think part of it's a good thing for a coach to turn around and just be like, do you know what? Not my bag. Someone else.
No, that's cool. That's cool. So this is also the first time we met, and for what I see from your social media, you've got quite a good work-life balance. You seem to have cracked, well, maybe not cracked the code. I don't think we ever do. Yeah. You have good days and bad days, but has that always been the case for you?
Definitely not.
No?
Definitely not. I think if I'm being honest with you, I think the biggest challenge I always had, and especially early on in my PT career, was like controlling my partying.
Yeah.
Because I was always one that I just enjoyed like the partying side of things. I think the minute that I kind of started to get involved in like drinking at the weekends and stuff and all that stuff, I know James has actually spoke about it before, but I found it hard to become like the coach that I wanted to be for my clients, and then also at the same time still want to enjoy myself at the weekends. So that's always been my biggest struggle. And I think just over the last couple of years, I've just done a little bit of work on myself, probably, to be blunt about it, a little bit of like fucking growing up as well. And I've managed to strike a good balance now. But that was probably one of my biggest things that was holding me back from actually progressing in my business at all.
So you hear a lot of people going like teetotal and that, and there's obviously two fucking extremes there.
Yeah.
Is that something you're ever going to can see yourself doing, or do you know?
I could probably see myself doing it in the future, like way down the line. Maybe if I got to the stage where I had a couple of kids and a home life, and I probably feel at that point it wouldn't be doing much for me. I think if we're being honest, like as a young single guy, I think the opportunity to go out and get a bit loose and chat to people and meet new people, I think is a good part of growing up and becoming.
It's experiences.
100%. I've also like signed up a good few clients from meeting people on nights out as well and having a drink as well. And I think
hustling.
So that just that helps me justify.
By the way, you heard of Alex Caldwell's PT?
Yeah. That helps me justify it completely.
I like it.
No, I need to go out drinking because that's, I'm always just networking. No, but I think I'm very much of the opinion that it's if you do enjoy it, don't get me wrong, don't force yourself to go out and drink and kind of have a good time if that's not your idea of a good time. I do know some people, I think, they do that. I look at them, I don't think you're even enjoying yourself here. I love it. I love going out and socialising. I love catching up with the boys. And as long as I continue to do what I'm doing right now and not let it take over.
I have a good pulse on it.
And start having a bit of a grip on my life again and take away from what I'm trying to build business-wise, then I'm all for it.
I like that. That was a good answer. So there's lots I've got tons of questions I do actually want to dive in with you. You're probably like, why am I even here? Like, what have I got to offer time in? But I seen you go on a podcast recently, so listen to that through. We've been following each other for well over a year and that sort of stuff. And it's weird, like you see people on social media, we've spoke, but I was like, you know what, you fucking seem like a cool guy to sit down with and chat with us.
Thanks.
But what I'm really interested in, so you've been PTing since you were 17, am I right in saying?
16, 19 it was.
Oh, 19, sorry.
19 it was. I suppose
you started your journey,
So I went to college to do a HND at 17. So I've been involved. I suppose that's where the journey started. I suppose I wasn't actually coaching people at that age, thank God. I spent a couple of years at college actually getting qualified and matured. Yeah, I mean, we're still working on it. But I did spend a couple of years, and then when I was 19, I got a PT job, an employed PT job. I mean, I felt like a bit of a glorified gym instructor. I didn't really feel like a PT yet.
Where did you start?
It was Exercise for Less.
Oh, so that's actually...
Which are now JD gyms.
Aye, so it's not... That's one of the better places to start equipment-wise, for sure. Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. They changed their model up, and they decided to go down the route of... it was basically like all the PTs are now salesmen. You'll get paid a low rate, like per hour. If you PT someone, you'll gain commission on it. You'll have targets.
So that's actually really common in America.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what their models are. When I was in San Francisco recently, I went to that Mind Pump event, and every single PT there was like, I need to move away for the gym I'm working in. So I was asking about models, and it's crazy. It was like a 70-30 share of their PT commission. Okay. Like everything was done through the gyms, and I'm like, so you can't just pay rent and do your own thing? It's like, no. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
It's probably where it'll have came over from somewhere. Like, before that, I think that they were purely just a rent gym always. And it was probably one of the busiest places for PTs that I knew, especially that Renfrew one. It was that, like David Hatt started there. Yeah. That's where I met him. And then when he left, then I came on and I was under an employment role. Yeah. Now, a good thing actually, I think, in hindsight, because I was 19, so it gave me that structure. I think if I was 19 trying to run my own business, I think it would have fell flat in its face.
You would have pivoted.
There's a possibility that I would have even not continued to do it because I would have been like, this is far too hard for me. So it was actually kind of nice to be given like a little bit of guidance. My manager at the time, actually, which is quite rare in these gyms, my manager at the time, Kelly, was actually great. Right. Really, really good. Good
bit of support.
Good bit of support there, encouraging, pushed me to do things that I wouldn't necessarily wanted to do. Like doing my spin qualification one night and then taking a class the next morning. I was back. I remember being back home at night.
Stressing.
Creating a playlist. And I was on the end of my bed, like cycling to the beat. My mum was like, "Wait, what are you doing up there?" And I was like, "I'm practicing my spin class." And luckily I did it the next morning, and it was scary, but we got it done. That was kind of I
still say to this day, one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I've had through my whole career, and I've only been PTing over the last 3 years, so I came into it later on, was that first spin class, because you put so much effort into stand up when the beat goes like this, you're counting the beats in your head, like, oh, that's what I was doing. But then that first class, seeing like 3 people come in as well, I was like, man, this is shit. Like, like this is why they're looking at me, like right up at the front.
I've always thought I'm a bit of a DJ as well, so I knew the playlist had to be on point. I knew everything had to be on beat as well. So it worked in my favour, and the confidence obviously grew with that. And then I just got to the point where I just didn't care anymore, and I was just going around turning everyone's bikes up and all that. Like, oh, hurry up, Sandra.
Do you ever see the clips of like the spin classes in America and that sort of stuff? It's like the pure.
I do actually.
It looks like aesthetic. Everybody's like sweating their pan in and all that sort of stuff. I can imagine you in that environment for sure.
It's funny you say that. I think my worst trait is thinking that I could do things really well with minimal
singing
effort,
to the dance.
I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that. That'd be fine. It's actually a lot harder than it looks.
So you've been PTing quite a while. You've been, from what I see, like really successful with the in-person stuff, and then you also joined MTN, but then you've got your own online coaching. We'll go into all of that, but I'm quite curious, like back at the start when you're in exercise for less, mentorships is like a big thing just now. Do you think, did you ever do anything like that yourself, or did you have good people around your circle to help you out? Obviously David is a
never paid for any form of mentorship. Right. So I've never spent money on it, which I think's, there's two ways for me to look at it. On one side of it, if I had paid for some sort of mentorship, would I have been further along than I was earlier? Who knows? I'll never know that. On the other side of it, I think it was actually nice for me to make a lot of mistakes and then figure it out how to fix it on my own, rather than always having someone to go to and be like, what do I do here? Or this isn't right. No, I never had that safety blanket. There was even points in time when I worked in Exercise for Less where I was the only PT there. There was a big turnover of PTs at that point in time.
Right, okay.
And I was pretty constant. I was just continued to be there. One, because it suited me, and two, because I seemed to just be picking up clients and doing quite well, which was a nice thing, a nice confidence boost in the early stages. I actually remember one guy, when I first came in, it was like a month in or something, one of the kind of big bodybuilder guys that I tried to stay away from because I was literally 60 kilo dripping wet trying to tell people how to build muscle. I'm now only 76 kilo dripping wet trying to tell people how to build muscle, but he was like, oh, you one of the new PTs, aye? And I was like, yeah. He's like, see how long you last. And I was like,
so that was like a theme, mate.
I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay, so nobody stays here for long. Like, and I think the statistics actually are that people don't last very long PT.
Yeah, so the first year is like the cut-off point, and then 6 months after that there's another big drop.
Yeah. And we're still here, so that's all good. No,
that's good. That's probably why mentorships have popped off so much.
Yeah.
Because of the churn. The churn is extremely high.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like go, right, I see a lot of new PTs, it's like, right, once I get qualified, what mentorship should I pick? And I'm like, there's an element of getting your reps in, man. Like,
yeah.
Because you don't know what questions to ask. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you had gone through and learned yourself.
I think the scary thing for me with mentorships was always that I was always looking for evidence that they worked. I think it's very difficult to see evidence of it working for someone. It's not like a mentor can post someone's bank account and be like, oh, look how much money this person's actually making now.
Yeah.
They'll post what they're making per month, and don't get me wrong, there's some great mentorships out there that I think are 100% doing amazing work. Some mentorships, there's a possibility there that those numbers are being fabricated, or at least presented to you in a way that makes you think that would be the case, but it's not. You look at a personal trainer, for instance, they post a before and after. It's like, okay, well, that's proof that person's actually good. And the more results you see from that person, you're like, there's proof there. I never had that proof from a mentorship, and I was maybe a little bit cynical about it. So I just decided to ask people that I knew who I knew were doing well in the industry, and that was other coaches that I knew that were doing very well. People like David, who I later went on to work with as well, that I actually met when I was 17. He was someone who was from the same kind of area I was, same kind of situation. He was 2 years older than me. He was doing a little bit better than me. That was all the evidence that I needed to be like, okay, well, this guy probably knows what he's talking about.
You probably hate to say it, but did you like idolise him in a wee way? Like you kind of looked and I quite like the lifestyle he's living.
Absolutely not, man. In the early stages, absolutely. Right. Yeah, of course. I think anyone that's doing exactly what you want to be doing, who's a little bit older than you and is doing it well, yeah, you're gonna. And I think it's a good thing to do. Don't look at someone and being like, how the hell am I ever going to get there? Look at them and be like, I'm going to ask them how they got there, and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to do it as well.
So you were like one of the first PTs in this place to stick it through, from the sounds of it. How long was it? A year you were PTing?
So I was there for about a year and a half, I want to say. That would make sense.
See, people hear that and it's like, oh, that's not a long time, but see, when you're in the midst of it, it feels like forever. It feels like, man, this is all I know now, type of thing. So what was that first year like for you? What did you learn in that first year? Did you pick up clients fairly easy because the churn was so high? What was the lessons that you'd learned?
Nowadays it's a little bit different, I think. This was maybe 7 years ago or something. I never had a social media presence in the slightest. I never even had social media. The only social media I had was what my current one is at the time, and it was just one photo per week of me and the boys with a pint in our hands. That was all I had. That was literally it. And then the odd like topless photo of
crazy
me,
how it's evolved,
like,
isn't it?
Chesty. Like that was pretty much
good lighting, good pump.
That was pretty much it. And then my stories were just me every time I bought a new creatine. I'd take a photo of it and be like, oh yes.
Gym bro stuff.
100%, yeah, that was all it was. But what helped me was just, and it sounds really silly, and I always say this to new coaches when they start, just being the person in the gym. Like if you think to yourself, like, how can I be the guy in the gym? Most of the time it's actually to start taking classes, getting your face in front of as many people as possible and just doing the best possible job you can. And just always being the chatty one, always being the one that's asking people how they're getting on. You just become the social one in the gym, the one that actually makes the effort with folk. I knew so many coaches in the past that in my head weren't amazing coaches. Great people, if that makes sense. Personable, had social skills. They picked up clients, no problem at all, because people were like, well, I'd like to spend an hour with them, and they can't be that bad, and they'll have good chat.
It's like the most overlooked trait. It's like, need to be likeable. Doesn't matter how good your knowledge is. You could have the best transformations in the world, but if you're
have a combination of both, you're absolutely jamming. But a lot don't. And some just have the social aspect, and actually, to be honest, works pretty well for them. And then they can learn from there. Like they can actually educate themselves how to be a good coach. Very, very hard to be a great coach, but educate yourself on how to be a people person. I think that comes so much more naturally. So I know which one I would pick first and then work on.
You can't. Sure. You also can't. You can't really teach it. You need to experience it at the same time. You need to go through, and that's where, in a sense, like mentorships can bring it to light. Yeah. Are you going to read a bit of paper and go, okay, I'm a nice guy now, I'm going to ask these sort of questions? Too robotic, isn't it? It's
hard. I think it comes across that way too.
So where do you think your people skills come from? You've always been quite chatty of that throughout school and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, too chatty in school. That's why I got like, no results. I just think I grew up in a good home where we all communicated well. So that was a plus point for sure. I then went and worked in retail, like a variety of retail.
You saying retail here, or are you going to actually say where it was?
Yeah, okay. So
I was laughing at that.
No, well, I know. Well, for anyone that doesn't know, I've had a plethora of girly jobs, from dropping off Avon books for my mum to then working in Lush as a Christmas temp, and then working.
But those skills here, what the guys lack is empathy and compassion, and these may be quote unquote girly jobs, but here. Yeah, who would have thought that would have paid off in a career you chose? It
equipped me so well to not just speak to a variety of people on a daily basis, but actually almost start to kind of sell people certain things as well. And also, people would come in, they would have a need, and then I would deliver what they were looking for, which translated over to personal training perfectly.
It's a nice blend.
100%, and it also just gave me the skills to greet someone properly, make somebody feel comfortable, ask them plenty of questions, ask them about their day, small talk, like just this stuff that doesn't come naturally to a lot of folk.
You need to experience it. You need to go through the reps with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I'd have done 4 years at uni and with a student loan to support me, no job, and then get chucked into a personal training studio, I'd have been like, this is quite hard. Yeah, this is tough going. So I'm thankful for it for sure.
That's good. That's good. So you mentioned like good household and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
When I was listening to podcasts that you've done, your mum and dad split up quite young. Yes. You got a good relationship with both of them in that now? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. My parents split up when I was probably about 2. So the only saving grace is I don't remember them ever being together, which is actually quite nice. And I think that's something that gets overlooked with divorces, is that people who are more towards those kind of moulding years, I suppose you would maybe call it, between the kind of 16 and stuff, that's when things start to become a little bit more tough.
Yeah, I've said it in the podcast before. I remember my mum and dad sat me down saying, look, your dad's going to stay with your gran and your mum's going to stay with your granddad. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. And
I remember saying yes, because I didn't understand it at the age of 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And then I remember like these moments when I was 13, 14 going, what happens if I said no? And I don't think, I've never really dived into that as much, but that definitely has a hold over you for sure. So you sort of just grew up with 2 two parents and that sort of stuff?
I don't remember there ever been a situation where that wasn't the case. I lived in a household with my mum and my stepdad. That's all I can really ever remember. And then I would go and visit my dad every weekend or every couple of weeks. And it worked pretty well. I think maybe looking back, I really don't think it caused me any major problems at all. I did a little bit of therapy last year and we kind of went over that. And I don't think that specifically caused me any major problems, purely because I felt I just felt love from both sides, for me, which was good. Did I sometimes look at the kind of average household sometimes and think that would be nice, but I don't think I needed to think like that too much, because the household that I was in with my mum and my stepdad, and then later on in my sister as well, felt like a pretty normal one anyway.
Yeah.
And I would just tell all my mates that it's good because I got more Christmas presents.
That's like the play into it. It's like 2 birthdays, 2 Christmases. Oh, you only got 1 main present?
Yeah. Absolutely great up until you grow up. And I was hungover that Sunday and I had to go and visit 2 dads, and I was like, this is a nightmare.
So what were they like kind of as parents growing up then? Like, did they push you to be more academic, or were they sort of just free rein of letting you do what you wanted to do?
I've actually never really thought about this before, to be honest, so it's good to think about it. I wasn't necessarily pushed in any direction by anyone growing up. Part of me sometimes wishes maybe that I was maybe pushed in to being a bit more academic, I suppose.
Why?
I think I still look back and still just wish I did better at school.
Oh really? That still holds?
I still wish I did better at school.
That's interesting. I had a massive insecurity with that as well. Actually, when I met my wife now, I met her 10 to 12 years ago, and everybody's going to uni at that point, and I'm like, fuck, I got zero I get PE, and that was it. I was like, I can't go to uni, right, I'll go to college, and then I was like, I just dropped out. Yeah. But I had that insecurity a lot, and I think that's why I chased money a lot in my late teens, early 20s, to try and prove like, oh, I'm smart. So why do you think that has a hold over you just now?
It probably I think I still place a lot of emphasis on someone's worth, I think, by feeling that they're intelligent. Now, I've probably grown up to realise that intelligence isn't based on someone's results at school, but I also think there's still a part of me that looks back to school and just thinks how not an enjoyable experience it was for me, because it caused me a lot of anxiety. And not that I actually realised it at the time, but it probably was anxiety. Like, the thought of me just going and sitting in maths was scary. Yeah. Like, that was just a scary prospect for me. Like, got to the point where that was just actually like traumatic.
Well, because you weren't good at it, or because you couldn't
do it.
Couldn't do it.
So right. I struggled. Really struggled to concentrate in class. Really struggled to take myself home and actually do the work that was needed to be done. If something didn't interest me, I really struggled to put pen to paper and do it as well. I used to take another shirt to school with me in my bag, because after I left maths, I'd like, my armpits had been like pissing down my waistband. Like, it was that bad. And I developed like this
Pythagoras had that much of a hold over you, mate.
It was awful. He was choking you out. And I had this weird kind of twitch that like showed itself when I was in maths as well. And I'm looking back and I'm like, that was just pure anxiety, mate. You just couldn't
build up of stress.
But there would be times where I knew I would have double maths last or something, and I would just go up the road. I would just be like, I do this.
When did you start noticing this in high school? Was it earlier?
So it was. I actually managed to kind of breeze my standard grades at the time. I know it's National 5s now, but I managed to breeze.
I didn't even know that's what it's called. I'm 30, man, and I'm like, fuck, it's already evolved.
Sorry, I'm still in the kids, mate. I still have a trolley crossover there. I breezed my standard grades without much effort. Now, totally lured me into, probably because I'm naturally pretty intelligent, I think. I'd like to hope so anyway. But I then got to hires, and I think I was lured into a false sense of security by the standard grades, going, nah, it's actually not too bad. And then just completely flunked them. I was just a disaster. Like, did my prelims, failed most of them, did the hires first time round, got one result, which was an A and PE, obviously. It was the only thing I was like,
it's like a common trait.
I said, I was interested in that. It interested me. And then second time round, I did kind of go back and I did again a little bit of minimal effort on top of that, and I got a few hires off the back end of that. But it's all kind of things that have just filtered into what I do now. So the hires I've got are PE, English, and photography. So all things that I kind of I'm interested in and actually use in my daily life now, which is kind of interesting.
It's crazy how much high school can have a hold over you, like from the teachers, from the support, from whatever it is you go through, and can start to shape who you are as an adult.
I think I'm still realising now, even years later, that the system itself, I just think it's amazing for some and terrible for others. Like from an IQ perspective, I'm pretty certain you could probably put a couple of people together in high school that got completely different results. IQ wise, probably exactly the same. The system just didn't suit them to show what they were capable of.
Yeah,
it's a memory game a lot of the time.
You're practicing for
if you can't memorise stuff and spit it back out on a piece of paper,
that's why I think
you won't do well in school.
That's why I think PE was great, because you have to apply experience from what you lift, how you move, how you communicate it, and that's why I think that class, and probably why things like music and photography, you're using you're actually doing something as well as learning the theory side of it. What do you think with the rise in ADHD and that sort of stuff? So I think you're not diagnosed, but you strike me as someone who's definitely. It's a shame James isn't here, because you two would have been bouncing off the walls with each other.
I know. I actually hate
label.
I hate saying that. It'll be my undiagnosed ADHD or I'm ADHD. Unfortunately, there is a lot of things in my life that I think would score me quite high on some sort of test. In fact, I have done a test, but online I paid for it. And me and all the boys in the group chat did it. We were all getting all the scores back. I think it was at 56.
10s, 5s.
All the boys got 11, 12, 8 and all that. Me and my mate Alan got 52 out of 56 or something like that. No, I would have
full marks.
I would have been it's just a stupid test if this difference wasn't so massive. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe there might be something in that.
Certainly more traits in this generation of guys and girls growing up.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Social media, the dopamine dump, every scroll. I think that enhances it.
Yeah.
But I think looking back to school and that, you start to go, there's elements of that coming through me as a child.
Yeah. All my bad habits that I've got or I have ever had look a lot like that. Look a lot like what someone with ADHD would struggle with generally.
What is some of them?
So I think for when I started kind of going out and things like that, it ended up being very much a party guy. So kind of relying on just going out and getting fucked up.
Right.
And very quickly became the guy who was Alex loves it, man. Do you know what I mean? So that's a pretty standard one, because if you've got ADHD, you're not meant to produce as much dopamine as everyone else. That's why you struggle to kind of keep yourself motivated throughout the day and struggle to focus on tasks. That's what dopamine does. It's a reward system, and it's also what helps you keep motivated and stay disciplined. So those behaviours are typical of someone who isn't producing as much. They then get a fake version of that, and it's holy shit, my prayers have all been answered. I can go out and be this happy-go-lucky normal person.
You attach yourself to it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know James spoke about that as well, the rave scene, for instance. Absolutely perfect for someone with ADHD. It's absolutely perfect. It's just the best thing you could ever do. So yeah, I think controlling that side of things, and I also find myself I need to be stimulated through a variety of things throughout the day, and I can't have too repetitive a week. There needs to be some interesting things thrown in there. Coming on a podcast over here this morning, great, completely different. I'll keep me going for the rest of the day, mate. We sorted. And yeah, I just think I do find myself very susceptible to quick dopamine hits throughout the day. I could be a complete scroller if I wanted to. I react very well to praise. If I feel like I've done a really good job or something, and someone's not really shown that they think it was a great job, I'm like, no, that was pointless. So
like a wee puppy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think quick dopamine hits sit very well with me, if I were to put it that way. So it's always been a kind of mission of mine and a goal of mine to kind of use self-development to figure out ways that I can boost my productivity and use all of that stuff to my advantage.
Yeah.
And like we said at the start there, I've never really had a real interest in finding out whether I've actually got it or not. Let's just keep doing our best and do things that we know benefit us, and I'll go from there.
Aye, definitely. Yeah. Me and James kind of dived into this conversation because he had, like, I think even to get the diagnosis from an NHS, it's like a 1.5 to 2 year waiting list, because so many people are realising they have traits in different elements of it. And when I spoke to James, he was really seeking the validation of, this is why I'm like this, and there was a lot of hold over this. But actually led him going to therapy in the end. Was that why you went? Like, what was your experience with that been?
I'm trying to think what really triggered it in the first instance. Yeah, so I went to therapy because I decided to do Sober October, and slightly beyond as well. I think it was 5 weeks, because I wasn't feeling great, and I was like, we're probably just doing a little bit too much at the weekends. By no means to the stage that I used to. Like, it was just going out with mates and having a laugh and socialising and all that. And
you just started hitting harder.
Yeah, so I was like socialising and stuff, and I was like, this is probably what's making me feel rubbish. So let's do Sober October. Write yourself a training plan, focus on your nutrition, push yourself, start doing a bit of running, etc. Focus on your business. Did all that, did it for over a month, and didn't feel any better. I was like, I just still feel like something's just not right. And my knee-jerk reaction to when I was never feeling great was always to self-destruct in some way. So whether it be start staying up later before I knew I was waking up early in the morning, or whether it be like a big weekend, I would always just self-destruct. I would do something that brought me back down to where I thought I should be, because being there and doing well was uncomfortable.
Nice. So it's like punishment. A
punishment thing for sure. So I was like, right, well, let's actually just flip this on its head this time. Let's do something that's actually going to benefit me, and maybe I'll kind of go back and figure out maybe where some of this is coming from. Because I tried the get locked in thing. I tried that. I've been like, you don't need to sort yourself out. Yeah. You just need to get dialed in and get locked in.
David Goggins mindset.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, do you know what? I think it does work. But for this time for me, wasn't having an effect. Still felt like there was something in me, that a bit of an empty feeling in there. So went to therapy. I think I did 8 sessions over the course of 8 weeks, kind of leading up to Christmas time. I can safely say that it made me feel a whole lot better. And I think that part of it wasn't even down to sometimes having context behind why I was feeling bad. It was purely just because I'd told someone some things that I'd never told anyone in my life, and it just felt like a bit of a weight off my shoulders.
It's crazy how powerful that is.
So weird.
Especially so like weird. I'm a guy, obviously I'm a man here, but men's mental health, and you hear this a lot, and I think there's a big correlation with that. It's like, you're with your mates, you're socialising, but are you connecting? Are you actually getting what's in you, what's inside you? You're getting an outlet for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I do feel like I've got a really good. So I've got a few groups of friends. I've got a group of friends that I've known since I was like 12 at school. We're all still best mates, which I think is so rare, and I'm always so grateful.
Massively rare, man.
I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
We're always bigging each other up. We're always like congratulating each other, always hoping each other do well.
Yeah,
and it's honestly brilliant. Even then, there's still a few things you just can't chat to them about. That you don't want to. So I think that had just been building up within me, that there was a few things that I wanted to chat to them about, but I was like, I just can't do it. And I think as well, like, without coming off as, stereotypical, I think a part of wanting to be a man is that you should just deal with a few things on your own. There probably was a part of that in me. One thing we spoke about when I was in therapy, it was my inability to ever ask anyone for any help. So I never liked taking money off my parents. That made me feel uncomfortable. I went out and got a job, and I didn't like asking. My dad never kept very well, and still doesn't keep very well. So I never liked putting any extra pressure on him. I'll deal with it. It's cool. I'll sort it out myself. So that probably went into later life, so that when I wasn't feeling great, I didn't want to speak to anyone about it either. Because I was like, well, I've dealt with all this stuff. I've dealt with any problems I've ever had myself before.
Yeah.
I'll just do it again. But what the therapy allowed me to do was to still deal with this stuff in private and not have to speak to those around me and have to show them like weakness, I suppose, in my head it was. still be able to deal with that stuff in private, and then be able to go back to them and be the person that I probably wanted to be for them.
Yeah.
So it gave me that little bit of best of both worlds there.
What does some of the like inner work look like? Like, what was the habits, or was there anything that, I know it's not a one size fits all, I know it's very individualised, but what worked for you then? So speaking about it, was that just enough to go, right, cool, this is normal, I recognise this within me, this is what I need to work
70% of that, 70% of it probably was just that.
Right.
The other 30% in my head was just framing things differently. So whenever I felt like I was going to have a moment where I was not going to deal with something properly, or start to let it get me down, myself and my therapist had just worked on a few tools to just to take a step back for 2 seconds and just be like, hang on a minute, what's the appropriate response for this? And kind of almost like cut it off there. And then you then use what you know is the correct response and go from there. And the more you do that, the more it becomes normal.
Right.
And then you just find yourself looking at everything in a completely different outlook. So, you know, if I'll use anger for a start. I've never a crazy angry person. Yes, in fact, the MTN team will tell you I was trying to tie a bow tie for the ball on at the weekend there. And
I seen you on Heather's story, like watching demonstrations. That just threw you off.
Threw me off. Got to like an hour before the ball. We're meant to be there and all that, and I'm like fucking kicking doors and all that. Anyway,
don't strike me somebody that has an angry bone in them.
I think I had a lot of effect. I think they were like, you must be genuinely pissed off right now. I was like, I got in there and I was like, sorry guys, just a bit nervous for speech and all that. But if we were to look at like anger, for instance, so someone, you know, stubs their toe, right? So you walk up to that door and you stub your toe and you immediately just freak out. You're screaming, you're fucking
punching the next thing,
punching the wall, screaming for the dog, get out the road, whatever. Because you just didn't even have a minute to think, oh, that was, you know, that's fair enough, because you didn't have a minute to think about that. That's just a response.
Yeah.
Whereas when someone's, you know, putting pressure on you, or someone's, you know, asking you to do something for them, and it's building up and building up and building up, then people blow up. And I'm like, well, actually, there was a moment there where you could have just been like, well, let's get the reaction. Let's stop in this middle bit for a second here and actually just spend a bit of time here and ask ourselves, like, what's the appropriate response here?
Space.
Is there anything else that I can actually do to make myself feel better about this? And how would that, let's look at it from that person's perspective, and then we'll give the response. Whereas people just miss that middle bit out. Yeah. It's not even an option. You know, similar to someone who's like an alcoholic and someone offers them a beer, they just go yes. Yeah. Whereas they could be like, no, I'm sober. I shouldn't do that. It's not good for me. No, thank you. But that's the hard part to do for most people with anything that you do in life.
You're right. It carries over to a lot of stuff. Like, you create barriers in space of fat loss, for example. Like, bringing it back to that, someone who knows chocolate is their kryptonite. So I try to create that space to just think about the decision that you're going to make, or think about the action that you're going to take. Yeah. There's generally no right or wrong with it, well, within reason, but it gives you that space to think about. Yeah, interesting. So I'm hearing a lot of people like use therapy as a tool and that sort of thing, and it's interesting, and I think it's a good thing to see more people doing it. Have you seen the clip of Joe Rogan where, I can't remember the woman's name that's on it, and she's kind of going after talking about it? What's your thoughts on that?
That's one of the reasons why I stepped away from it. Right. So if I was to give advice on anyone who does therapy, don't do it for an extended period of time. I'm not an expert, but this is my thoughts on it are, and the word that they use in that clip, which completely took me aback, was like, people just spend too much time ruminating, sorry, I'll say that better, thinking about themselves too much, rather than just taking action on things. So, you know, I think people who struggle, they spend too much time thinking, how am I feeling today? Can I do this today? How's that going to make me feel? Taking too much stock almost, to the point where all they're doing is just thinking about themselves all the time. When in actual fact, they maybe be best served waking up, not even thinking about how they're feeling today, and just going and getting started with the day.
Taking action on stuff.
Probably find that has a bit of a snowball effect into your afternoon, into your evening, that you finish off your day and go, that was pretty good actually. Yeah. And that gives you a bit of like a good feeling, a bit of positivity. So yeah, I think if you're still doing therapy, you know, a couple of years down the line, maybe it's time to, you know, not that I'm saying that's not right for you. Maybe it is. Maybe you just like that check-in, like most like people love a check-in, accountability. maybe you should try and take the tools that you should have from your therapist, because if your therapist hasn't given you any tools for things to work on, then I wouldn't say they're doing a great job. Take the tools from your therapist that you've got and try and spend a bit of time implementing them and actually start filling up your life with things that make you feel good. And just try it and see what works for you, because I think the combination of both for me has been perfect. So if I was to say it in my ideal world, it would be go and do therapy, have a look back, see if there's anything that's troubling you, get some tools to deal with it, move forward and practice it, and then do the get dialed, get locked in thing. Because I genuinely think that combination of both is a pretty good. I'm going to make a project actually.
It's the next sort of launch for you.
No, but I think for me personally, I don't want to put tell anyone that this is the right thing to do or not.
No, I think everybody.
In my opinion, that would work for most. I do. I really think that.
And I seen that clip. I've never done therapy myself. James has, Gavin has, people on the show that has, and they all say, "Oh, you should do it." And I'm like, to me, that just straight away rules me out not wanting to do it, because you've said it's something that I need to do. But I think everybody needs to go through it from themselves. But I seen that clip and I was like, it does kind of make sense. But to a point you made, you have all these close relationships, and even with those relationships, there's still going to be stuff within you. As a human being, we need that non-biased approach to.
I think anyone living without integrity always starts to just take themselves a little bit. So if you aren't the person that you'd like to be, or you're doing something that you don't want to be doing, and you continuously do it, no matter how much you think you like yourself, you can't like yourself that much if you're not have the discipline to tell yourself not to do it. It's in a Jordan Peterson book, the third chapter, and I think it is. It's like, treat yourself how you'd want to treat other people or your best friend. Like if you were the kind of person who was to go out on a night out and say, like, I'm only gonna have a couple tonight, I've got to go for a run in the morning, and then you get smashed. I was like, well, if your friend told you that, you'd be like, right, mate, that's two. Like, a real friend would be like, right, mate, that's two. Like, remember, you've got that run in the morning, off you go and all that. But
it's a great thing you ask clients into that.
It's a great thing. Like, what would you have told your mate to patch your Friday morning gym session before work? Probably not. You'd have probably told them that it'd make them feel good going into the weekend, etc., etc. So something I always remind myself is, like, what would I tell someone that I cared about here? I would tell them to do this. Okay, let's do this weekend then.
Good. So speaking of like friendships and all that sort of thing, this line of work, the coaching element, PT and one-to-one online coaching, we'll get into like your journey of that and where you're at now in business. But you said you had all these different groups of friends. How do you stay friends with everyone with everything going on? How have you balanced that side of things?
I think I just love spending time with my mates. Right. So I kind of spoke before about, like, I won't do things if they don't interest me. I struggle to do that. Right. Seeing my mates, it always interests me. Like, I love spending time with them. I love catching up with them. Always have a laugh. So I think I do just make time to catch up with them. And we're all quite like that. And I think we're also active in the group chat that we've got, that somebody always wants to catch up and do something. This weekend, it's my best mate's sister's birthday gathering. I'll 100% be there, because my mate said, do you want to come along as well? On a couple. So
it's like non-negotiables for you in a way.
Yeah, for sure. I think so.
It's one thing I've found myself being pretty shit at, if I'm being honest. Like, but I also think, like, as I've gotten older, we moved away to England and all that sort of stuff, and even that there is a part where I'm friends with a lot of people, but it's like, well, those relationships aren't as close as they once were. But then my interests and all this sort of things changed. I guess from the start, your career path has been what you're doing. I wonder if that's part of why mine's has sort of changed. It's cool being in this field because I get to like meet people like yourself and all the different guests and that. But then I look back, I'm like, fuck, I'm very distant with any friendship I've had for school. Like, I don't think I have anyone. And I was like, well, I've got nobody to share what that experience was like.
I think you're in the majority there, I would say.
Absolutely.
The majority. That's why I say I feel so grateful to still have a group of pals from school, because I think it is rare these days, and it's likely just been down to the fact that we all still did kind of stay in the same area until maybe like the last year or so. So it was very easy just to catch up, and jump down the pub and catch up with each other. One of my best mates Ryan Mullen actually has just started his own run club. He's became a PT as well. We now
awesome.
We now work in the same gym. It's very strange, mate. I'm still adjusting to it. Like for me and him to be at school together, now to working in the same gym is odd. But equally like amazing. And you know, we all show each other, I was saying we'd show each other support. He started a run club on a Saturday morning. Me and 6 of the boys, I'd say, out of that eight guy group chat are there on a Saturday morning to do it, and we've all signed up to Paisley 10k. So I think it just shows that we're good.
That's cool.
We actually enjoy catching up with each other.
Aye, it's not a chore.
Yeah, and my parents, I'm from Erskine, so my parents still stay in Erskine, and a good few of the boys still stay in Erskine as well. So when I'm over seeing my parents lately, who does I'll catch up with someone while I'm over there as well.
No, good.
Yeah.
So taking it back to like the PT journey that you had in Exercise for Less, then through that period of time, like when did you make the decision to leave there? Like what was going through your mind at that point?
I was getting a little bit annoyed at, in fact, I would phrase this differently. I think my confidence just grew. So then as my confidence grew, so did my like horizons. And I kind of started to look at, for the first time in my life ever, what could be done what I could be doing financially. And I was like, do you know what, actually I was like, I'm making this an hour and I'm giving this back to Exercise for Less an hour. What if I just clients just paid me and then I kept it all? Now obviously at that age
you're like, easy peasy.
I'm like, he's a piss man. I'm like, at that age I'm like, and I'll just take it on cash as well, and then that'll be us, be sorted, and I'll just take my bundles of holidays and we'll be good to go. So that's in my head. I was like, sorted. So I left.
Did you have a game plan?
And to thank like Exercise for Less for all the hospitality, it took like 17 clients with me, right? So I was like, these are coming.
So there was a non-compete. There was a zero non-competes. No,
yeah, we're fine. I was like, these are, you know, I was like, you're coming with me. And then I started working in an independent gym in Paisley.
Right.
So I started paying rent there.
Where was that?
It was just right across the road from where the St Mirren ground is now.
Is it still there now?
Still there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's it's moved a little bit. It's still there though. But yeah, so I started working there. Rent was pretty cheap per month, and I was right off the bat, like I'd only been maybe PTing like properly for like a year, but the minute I was self-employed, I had 17 clients coming in twice a week. So it was instantly busy. Yeah.
You're a billboard and it's like, who's that guy that's always busy?
And I moved over there and took like 10-week blocks off everyone in the first week, and I was like, I'm sorted.
Who wants to go out, boys? So
yeah. Me and all my pals went to Vegas in November. For we all turned 21. All went to Vegas in San Francisco, like this big trip.
Was that the trip that you done? Yeah,
spunked it all.
Came back with tail between your legs.
Then got back. Just came back with a credit card bill, to be honest, mate. But I mean, holiday of a lifetime. But I remember being like, okay, shit, right, this actually isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
Business is not.
You need to realise that people paying you for 10 weeks up front means you've got to have that money last you 10 weeks up front. But thankfully, I was still at home, so we're fine. But yeah, off the bat, pretty successful. Started kind of sort myself out that way. David had started working with another 2 coaches, Ryan and Dale at the time, so not the Ryan that works with us now. But he started working with those 2. He'd started to create a little bit of a kind of buzz around a bit of an online coaching company and stuff. And I'm obviously still quite young, and I'm like, that would be cool. And we were mates, we were pals at the time. But I think from his perspective, he was like, you've just went self-employed. You've not even
got your reps in yet.
Yeah, go away for like a wee bit of time here and be like, and see how you go on and see if you love it and stuff. And then the start of 2020, so the start of that year, right before COVID, then I joined MTN and we started with that side of things.
Who are you learning from at this point? Like when you went self-employed, are you sort of winging it yourself? Like who are you kind of looking at for inspiration? Who's guiding you through this? Yeah,
I think like you always do, like you just start taking inspiration from the people that you're in the gym with. So I was in a small independent gym. There was another few PTs there. I'm like 19. I'm like a pure sponge, just soaking up everything. So I must have been doing a lot of random stuff with clients. And it just slowly started to work. I think luckily I had, you know, someone like Dale who was kind of saying to me, by the way, mate, I've got this client that's wanting to start with me, but I said, I'm full, like, do you want me to send them over to you? Like, there was a bit of a network starting there. There was a bit of a network starting, which was great. And it kind of meant that we started becoming, like, known to people as knowing each other, which I think also helped as well when I did start moving into MTN. And I was just learning off of you. I'm always going to say it, and we always say it, like, the majority of my knowledge has came from, like, science-based YouTubers a lot of the time. And I think there's so much amazing information out there that
so powerful, isn't it?
People aren't even tapping into.
I know, and free. You just need to put in the
like
hours.
Jeff Nippard, Mike Israel, even guys back then that were maybe kind of giving out a bit like of not like really science-backed stuff, but like Steve Cook, Christian Guzman, like all those guys back then.
Rich Piana and
maybe
Fletcher.
Maybe not Rich Piana, but watching all them provided one motivation to build a business and to push yourself and do well and, you know, build a sick physique and all that, and to actually learn as well. And all you really had to do back then as a one-to-one coach was be able to be a good people person on the gym floor and provide someone with a hard workout. Yeah, and it didn't have to be actually a great workout, but as long as it was a hard workout, people just kind of assumed at that point in time,
I'm sweating, I'm sore.
Everyone was a little bit more naive that meant you were a great PT, and I could definitely do that.
Funny how the standards have increased and more for, you know, it's great. It's great from an online, especially the online coaching, because online coaching was I was speaking to someone I had on the podcast, and he's like, used to write like a 16-week plan, that was it, done. They just followed it, they came back to me at the end of 60 weeks, paid me in the next block, and I was like, coaching. How fucking great would that have been from a financial point of view? But I guess we all got into this to truly try and help others. What was your reason? Because you not really spoke about like how you, like why PT and why did you want to help other people?
I just think I thought I'd be good at it, and I've not actually realised this until recently, but I'll start from the beginning really. So didn't do as well as I thought I was going to do at school, right? So the idea for me was always to go to uni. Like that was my thought process. Right. The older people and the older kind of like cousins and things in my family, everyone had went to uni. So I was like, well, that's just what you do. Also, your teachers are ramming it down your throat. They're like, you've got to go to uni. That's what success is. So maybe I've still a bit of that in my head, but they're like, that's what's being successful is. You go to university, you get a degree, and then you get a great job and you make loads of money. I was like, cool. Didn't get to do that. Just got turned away by universities because I didn't have the results. Went to college and
what was the rejection like? What was that? Did you apply for uni?
Yeah, I applied for a couple. I think I applied for like nutrition and dietetics, and I think I applied for sport and physical activity at Strathclyde, which was the most oversubscribed course ever. So I don't know why I was even gutted at that. I should have been getting 5 A's.
But see, when you think about it, to that point in your life, that's a big moment. It's a big moment. It's like you're waiting on that fucking letter come through. What's that like when you're not getting in? Do you think that's where insecurity stuff started to come from?
It's not great. I think, if anything, it probably just confirmed to me what I was telling myself of that. You're not cut out for that. Right. Like you're not gonna be that. You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy.
Not that guy, pal. But then as I went through the college course and as I went through the kind of early PT, I was kind of starting to gain a little bit of confidence and be like, maybe you are that guy, pal. Maybe there's just a different way to do this. And it got even kind of more, that thought got more boosted for me by seeing other guys my age around me who had maybe went into construction and stuff as well, and were like, oh, these guys are making a lot of money and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, I was like, there's another way to do this. Not that anyone ever told me.
No, this is you're blind. You're fucking blind going through this. No one told me that.
I kind of thought the days of like your dad leaving school with no results and building his own business and now he's a millionaire were kind of done. I thought that was kind of over. I was like, we're past that. Do you know? But yeah, as I kind of went on, I was like, okay, well, maybe this has started to actually work a little bit.
So the career path of personal training,
yeah, for sure, yeah. And I think the only reason I started it, sorry to answer your question, mate, was because I thought I would be interested in it, and I knew that I stuck to things that I liked, and I liked going to the gym, and I've only now recently realised that I get so much energy from teaching someone something, and then them applying it and it working for them, and I know that it helped them out. That for me is like where I gain my energy from. So I think any form of coaching or teaching or whatever it was going to be needed to be the something that I did.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this about me, but that's where we've got a very similar journey to I didn't even apply for uni because I knew straight up, I was like, you've not done good enough at school. Applied for college. I was like, I'm good at sports. Let me do this sort of sports thing that got you your PT thing. Was in the first year of that, and I was doing a milk run. I was delivering Chineses, and I was working for my stepdad at the same time. All cash in hand jobs, and I was like, £200 a week. I'm fucking rich.
Oh yeah.
And I got to the stage where I was like, right, let's look at personal trainers. There's no old personal trainers. I liked Steve Cook stuff, Simeon Panda stuff. I liked Calvin Von Moger. But I was like,
is it still natural, that Simeon Panda?
Hi, yeah. He's getting shit now, by the way, because he's came out saying I've been a lifetime natural, and even like Mike Idritail, who's the other guy with the squeaky voice, Greg Duchette, like he's on his channel and all that just now, which is funny to see because he's the reason why I had so much insecurities in my own body, because I was like, I'll follow Simeon Panda's 10-week plan and I'll look like that by the end of it.
People like him are hating the fact that everyone's getting less naive.
I know. And I got to the 10 weeks and I was like, I missed 4 workouts. That's why I'm not as big. Let me try it again. Until I realised I was like, what is this anabolic steroids people keep talking about? Surely, if I need to believe him, he's not saying that. Yeah, but anyway, I made the decision to not go into PT because I was like, it must not be a career because you don't see any older people doing it.
Yeah.
And I went into the workplace, but I got a job in BT coaching people.
Okay.
You were like a team coach. So I was in as an apprentice, and then I was coaching this group of new people on how to use a system, dead basic stuff. But this was my first time coaching. I was picking up some skills that I learned in PE, teaching classes and stuff like that. And a wee guy said to me, you're like Coach Carter, but like Coach Crossar. And I was like, I like that. I like that. And it took me 7 years to eventually make the decision to go into coaching more. But I think that's what kind of tickled my fancy for that and that sort of stuff.
That, mate. 15 suicides.
Get them right into it. But yeah, so back to like your story then. Like, so you were living with your parents. When do you move out at this point? Because I'm quite curious to this bit, because being kind of having a house yourself, like that's a pretty big deal. So it's the next big chapter in your life. So you choose the career path of being a PT. Where does that? When do you kind of? Is this before the 21st?
No. So I still stayed in the house for another good while after that, which just held me back, if I'm being honest. Like I felt like I had a good relationship with my mum and my stepdad and my sister.
Your sister older or younger?
My sister's younger than me, so she's technically my half sister. Not that we ever actually.
Sister's
my sister. But yeah, so I just felt like it was holding me back because I was trying to become this authority within the industry that I was in and within MTN, and I was trying to be, I also had just visions of just trying to be the guy. But the guy's filming videos in his mum and dad's house in his bedroom, and I was like, that's not the guy. So I started kind of thinking to myself, and I was like, I'm gonna have to just take the leap here, and I'm not ready. I don't have a house deposit. I don't have the money to go and put down on a flat or anything like that. But I do think for my own development and happiness, and being able to just be a guy and live my life, I needed to be living myself. So I just started looking for rentals. So and I still do now, rent at the moment. Well, I just put money away because I'm quite happy doing it.
No, I quite
enjoy it. And I want to get to the stage where when I do have money put aside, or the time of my life when I do want to buy a big belter. So at the moment I'm like, well, I'll stick doing what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and I'm enjoying it. I say this to people all the time. I say living yourself is unreal like 90% of the time, and then the other 10% of the time you're like, I'll just go to bed then.
The day to talk to.
Like, so but just go to sleep over 5:30.
Do you think that's why you seek so many like social occasions?
Probably. Yeah, probably. And I think that was maybe part of the reason why when I first moved in that was so prominent, because I was like, what am I?
It's like silence. It's an eerie silence.
I'm not used to this. Yeah.
Jill's away to Budapest for 3 days, right? So I've been going home at night, and I'm like, I have said this, and don't get me wrong, at the start I'm like,
I know.
Well, I can do what I want. And then I'm
like, now you start ruminating, and you're like, oh god, you need to go to therapy.
So that when you moved out, you moved in yourself. Have you ever been in like a relationship or anything like that? Was that ever on the cards to get your own place?
In a relationship for 4 years, from when I was 19 to 23.
Right.
Just came to a natural end. And then since then I've just I've been single pretty much. So if I'm being honest with you, I've been quite happy with that situation. And
it's bad, but was it a bad breakup, like, or was it just life growing apart?
It was absolutely fine, mate. It was absolutely fine. It was just quite a kind of like natural finish. And I think for me personally, over the next few years, it's been a nice opportunity for me to just focus on myself and build the business. And I think if there's ever a time to be on your own, is probably the time over the past few years that I have had. So I've been quite grateful for it. Yes, there's 100% times where I do wish that I was maybe in a relationship, but I'm always quite bad for sometimes looking at what the negatives can be and not actually thinking, well, actually, I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have been able to just to have that opportunity, or I wouldn't have had enough time to build that part of my business. So it's been a positive for sure.
Yeah. I've said a couple of times that when you're starting to build your business, like you need to, it's almost when you look at the competing scene, any high level competitor struggle to hold on to a relationship because really there's so much that goes into that. Every part of your life is dialed into that. And you need to be, there is a selfish element, and that selfishness, like someone that you need to put time into your partner, and that time's going to be limited.
Aye.
You feel resent and all this sort of stuff.
3 months into being single, I did a show, so I was like, I started prepping for
was that when you done your show?
Yeah,
was it?
3 months into being single, I was like, God, this is, I'm gonna have to.
I need to be the guy.
I'm gonna have to go and do a show because that's what you do. It's time to get locked in.
Aye.
And yeah, so that obviously went well. Stuff like that served their purpose at the time. But yeah, I think I tried to look at everything now as what did it actually do for me, and what rather than I wish it could have been this, I wish it could have been that. Wishing for something in your past is fucking useless, to be honest.
It's all life experience.
Nothing you can do about
it. It's past.
So many bad things that probably happened in your life probably gave you something that you didn't realise it gave you. And
that's overlooked,
if that's just motivation to do better, then take it.
Yeah,
you know.
I think we need what's the saying, like tough times create stronger people, and I can't remember. I'm completely butchering whatever the phrase is.
I'm just thinking about that wee video right now. The guy is like,
tough times never last. So like
that's something that came in my head, mate. I think people are going to take a lot.
But in a way, like your situations that are good, bad, and whatever, they'll kind of make you who you are and that sort of stuff. So,
no, of course.
So where did then the move into MTM, did that just feel natural for you?
Yeah. So I started working with David and the team pretty much January 2020. Amazing time to start because 3 months later all the gyms shut. So
of course, fuck it. What was MTN as a brand at this point? So the photo shoot, was that the first photo shoot, or was one already? No.
I mean, it was so early doors. Like I think even David will tell you at that point it was purely just David and 2 other coaches, who were just taking clients online and taking them through a fat loss journey. That was pretty much what was happening at that point in time. They'd get put onto like an app. I think it was True Coach they were using at the time, and they would get given a nutrition plan, and there'd be changes here and there. That was kind of pretty much it. Definitely a lot more accountability than the average coach at that point in time. But it was kind of just like WhatsApp check-ins and checking in with them throughout the week. We used to do this really funny thing actually, where we would message clients a quote every Monday morning, like all of them. So I would have a client at like it seems silly, but I think it was good because people were like, "Oh, I've not really seen that before." But we'd like, I'd wake up, I'd have like a client at 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, so I'd wake up at like 5 a.m. and sit in my bed, and we'd make it up on Instagram stories, like so it looked all nice, and then screenshot it and send like 20 people like tough times never last. Tough people do. And people were like, "Thanks, Alex, ready to get on my day." And then by Tuesday, obviously they like fucked their diet and all that, so it never really worked. But even in the early stages, it was always an online coaching company. We never did any form of photo shoot, I don't think, until I think the first 12-week peak was 2022.
Right.
So there's been 2022, 2023 and 2024.
Yeah.
I might have balls that up actually, maybe there has been 4.
That's alright. David can answer that. So like that whole experience, so since then that's where you've sort of been. How's your balance with personal training and that sort of thing been?
So with regards to doing the 1-to-1 plus still doing
so
that,
did you still stay in Paisley? or did you? No, stay in Paisley, still be at the gym in Paisley?
I was at that point. I was at that point. He's got something to say. So I've been ridiculously busy with both one-to-one and online coaching at the same time before, and I balls it up.
What was busy like for you, like client-wise?
So I still
Can you remember?
was maybe taking like 20 sessions per week on the gym floor, plus having like 35 online clients. Wow. And it was too much for my naive, stupid brain, because I was just like, that's will be fine. I think I was like 23 at that point, and just couldn't handle it. There was also a good few things going on as well, so I was just thinking that I could just do everything well. So I was thinking I could socialise the level I was before. I was thinking I could still train an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. This the year
that you done the show as well?
This was before that.
Oh, before
that, yeah. And yeah, just thought I could do it all well, but realised that I couldn't. So, you know, the odd client would be messaging saying, "Hey Alex, I noticed you've not got back to my last message," or "Hey Alex, you missed a check-in," and rather than me actually just reaching out and asking for like help with stuff like that, I would just bury my head in the sand and just pretend it would get better. So it got to the point where I maybe had like 35 online clients. This was back in like 2022, I want to say, maybe even 2021, I think. And I'd maybe have like 35 online clients, and then all of a sudden I had like 12. And I was like, oh my God, that happened like overnight. And then I would deal with that by self-destructing in other ways. So it kind of like spiraled a little bit that way. But again, glad.
Aye, of course, yeah.
Now I'm back in that position now with, you know, with between 35 to 40 online clients pretty much at all times. Still was managing like 60 folk throughout the 12-week peak. Was doing a little bit of group coaching with Dale and Ryan at night time. And actually managing it all pretty well, because I just had that experience there. I've been like, well, you don't do that again. Now there's certain things that you have to pull back on in your life, or at least discipline yourself with.
What's the habits then that you done this time around that you didn't quite do before with some of the structures? Organisation
for a starter. Like starting off every week. Now this still falls by the wayside sometimes, but I know it works when I do it. Is just Google calendaring the shit out of my week. So just making sure that everything's like time stamped and I know when things are meant to be done. Play your week like a bit of a game, I kind of say. Like look at the different squares and make them all different colours and all that, and be like, okay, that one is complete, and it's almost like just I'm ticking off those levels every week. And if you've got like, you know, 50 boxes there throughout the week to do, and you get 40 done, pretty good week. Pretty good week, to be honest.
It's that reward though, like if you're just ticking tasks off but you don't see it, you're getting, oh fuck, look at that, yeah. I like it.
Makes me feel good. Dishes never get done though. The dishes are always
they're always in that top 10 and never done.
I was like, nah, maybe I was going to say get them next week. Everyone's going to think I'm a clatty bastard.
The same plate 4 times in a row.
They get done every day. They're just the last thing that I pretty much
whatever
do
you need to tell yourself, mate.
Get these done. Yeah,
good. So you've balanced a lot recently up until that, and we'll come to that in a wee sec. So how does your journey evolve through MTN at this point? Like you're head coach now, like working kind of staying with those guys, working on your own personal training. How does that experience look like? Did you just slowly take more online and start taking less in person?
Yeah, I think I started to move that way. So it was kind of as I would pick up another online client, I would reduce my one-to-one hours a little bit, or what actually more often than not happened. In case anyone thinks I was just dumping one-to-one clients left, right, and centre, that never really happened.
Transition.
I'm too scared to do that. As someone finished up with one-to-one, I would just not replace their space. Right. So then I just looked at that as taking pressure off myself so that I could focus more on filling the time doing something else, which I then did. I struggled to become an authority within the brand, I think, because I was more often than not the youngest. Right. So there was 3 other guys in the brand all doing the same as what I was doing. They were older, they had more experience, and people probably looked at them to be a bit more authority than me. That was quite tough. I was just trying to, you know, sell myself by just being funny and just making funny videos online. Doesn't really work. You kind of
think so? No, you don't think that wins a wee bit of personality from yourself?
Again, I think as everyone becomes less and less naive, people want to see what you can do. Right. So people want to see a mixture of, you know, the creativity and the discipline. They want to see like someone, that person's creative and they seem like a good people person, but they also want to see like, well, do they look like they're running a business? Do they look like they're doing a good job? Do they look like they're getting results? Because that's what I want.
So how did you break through that? Because from what I see, obviously the guys, Dale and Ryan's left and stuff like that, but I would see like you've like from what I've seen online over the past year, you look like a really good coach that definitely you'd want people to work with. As a outsider looking in, you'd want to work with you.
I think since you've been following me, absolutely, I would agree with you there.
So what's changes?
I think it came with age.
Right.
I think it came with starting to get some really good results. Like, not to, blow smoke up more or whatever, but in my circle of coaches that I know, I rarely see, better male transformation results than myself and the ones that we get within MTN. 100% they're out there. But the volume that I was producing over the course of like maybe not over last year and the year before, it was just like every week there was a new guy getting a six pack that was working under me, and I was just like, okay, well this is good because this is just showing people that even though I'm a little bit younger and I have a laugh and all that, and people kind of know I'm about just trying to always be the funny guy. Oh, holy shit, he's actually really good at his job. He must know what he's talking about. So that picked up the traction from there. And then all that does is give me energy back and give me confidence to know that I'm in the right job, I'm doing a good job, and to double down on it. It's hard to double down on something when you're not 100% sure whether you're good at it yet or not.
It's the self-belief or the self-destruction.
For sure.
You say that.
Yeah. So that helped bring me up to a stage where I started to feel a bit more confident, and then was able to then double down. And also I started to see more worth in what I was doing. So then the other shit that used to hold me back was becoming lower and lower down my list of priorities, because I was like, well, if I do that, then I can't focus on this, which is what I want to focus on. So yeah, that worked. That worked in my favour, just actually getting some really good quality results and showing people what I was up to.
So a question some people might think when they're on the personal training journey, there's always aspirations to help more people, have coaches work under you, all that sort of thing. What was your reason for joining MTN, and what's been the best part of that experience for you?
My reason initially for joining it was because I just wanted to be part of, I was young and impressionable, and I just wanted to be part of what David was doing, 100%.
Idolising then, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We'll clip that up, don't worry.
I actually got a big shrine of him in my front room, actually. Nobody's seen it. Oh, God. Yeah, cut that out, man. Sure. No, but yeah, so at that stage, just wanted to be a part of it. Like, it was gaining traction. I thought it was going to be the best possible environment for me to be in, to just pick up on some great coaches and be part of something. I think I did want a little bit of status as well. Like, I think, coaching can be quite a lonely gig sometimes. I think it felt nice to feel that you were part of something that was kicking off. Yeah, and I think I also saw it as a way for me to just start making a wee bit extra money as well, of course. Like, that's why we all look for things like that.
What's then, like, what have you learned through being with him? What, 4 years, is that, am I right in saying?
Yes, yeah. I've learned that I actually don't think I'd ever want to be the kind of person that manages a team. I don't think I'd ever want that. I don't like the idea of having a boss as such. I also don't like the idea of being one either.
Right.
So yeah, I like helping people out on a one-to-one basis. So like if there was a new coach, for instance, that was to come into the company, and we did I've done a little bit of this with Laura and Nicole that came on board, who've both been great. Helping them out a little bit, but I was never going to be the one that was like, I'm going to go off my own and start another business and then bring on other coaches underneath me. That was never my intention, and it still isn't. Purely down to the fact that I don't feel like I would be good at that, nor gain much energy from it. I like being part of the team, and I also like just being a really good. I'm not even an employee for David. We're all completely separate from each other. Suppose I technically do consultancy work for David, if I look at it like that. But yeah, like, I just like being part of the team. Being part of the team's the thing that I value the most, and I think I would find it really bloody lonely if I wasn't. Like,
I think a lot of people need to hear that though, because
as a job,
the dream is, you hear it a lot. Oh yeah, like, I want to take on 10 more clients and then I can pay for a coach and do this and do that. But I wanted to ask you that question and show people that there can be a different side of success, and extremely successful with your clients and all that. How does it work with being a part of MTN? So you've had quite an interesting year, like so you had your one-to-one PT, you had your online coaching, you then had MTN online coaching. So MTN online coaching is all. So that's together. So any online coaching that I do is under the MTN umbrella. Got you. So that's how that works. Yeah. So you got that, and then you done group stuff with Sin. Yeah. So how did that was that just seem natural, like to go in and help and do that sort of stuff? Yeah. So there was 3 things going on at the start of the year. There's now, I'd say maybe 1.5. So Dale and Ryan started Sin over a few years ago now. They opened up their own facility just over a year ago, I think it was now. I went over there to help them out, to do hours for them and be part of the brand, and went over there to do hours. And it was mainly just in the evenings. I took my one-to-one business over there as well, because I was like, well, I may as well just be based over there. From there, I started to notice that I was maybe just spreading myself just a little bit too thin with everything I was doing. And I also think the environment that I was in over there wasn't really playing to my strengths as a coach, because my style of training a lot of time is kind of body comp focused. I like getting the guys on, hammer strength incline press machines, and not that that's the only way to get someone a body comp result, but it's just what I like, and it's how I train. So I feel like that maybe wasn't feeding me maybe that was kind of something I was missing a little bit. So back squats, I know. I'm actually getting quite good at them. I've seen them. But yeah, so basically I kind of started coming to a point, especially as this year kind of progressed, where I was like, right, why do you not feel great in what you're doing? Why do you not feel why do I not feel fulfilled? I didn't feel fulfilled. I had a good few things going on. I was working all the time, making great money, if I'm being honest with you. Like, never wanted for anything money-wise. Was actually taking care of my finances now as well. Felt like I was making a massive difference. But why was I like, something's not right here? And I think it was because I just wasn't focusing on the things I was actually passionate about. I was still just maybe doing things that weren't like lighting my fire. So it's not a bit sexual anyway. So I had to think to myself, I was like, right, listen, and this is very similar to James finishing up with the podcast. I thought to myself, right, well, what do I love doing? What do I gain energy back from, and what I'm actually passionate about? Let's get rid of a few things that are maybe taken away from that, and let's focus on that. So I thought, well, I love online coaching. That's one thing that I really enjoy, and it's where I get all my results, which also makes me really happy as well. I love seeing people get results. I love helping people get results. I love doing photo shoots with people. I love getting body cup 6-packs and fucking shoulders and all that, quad striations. I love all that side of things. So I was like, if that's the thing that gives you the most energy back and the thing you love the most, and if I'm being honest with you as well, financially, you make a good bit of money from, why don't you just focus on that? Why don't you just do that? Also, it's going to give you the ability to finish up work at a decent time every night and go to the gym at night, which you like doing. I'm one of the rare people that actually loves going to the gym in the evening. I love it. I prefer it because I like getting everything done for the day and then knowing that I can go to the gym and enjoy myself. Fucking psychotic, man. That is psychotic. I know, mate. I appreciate it. But see if I'm in the gym at 11 a.m, I don't know, I've got 15 check-ins. I understand it. No, I do. I hate it. I never have a good workout. I do understand, but so weird. Yeah, no, I'm just stronger at night. I've got more food in my tummy. Yeah. So I was like, right, okay, well, what would your perfect day look like? And I'm like, okay, well, I like getting up early doors, so keep the one-to-one clients in. I also enjoy training people one-to-one. I like it. So take a couple of clients, 6:30, 7:30, finish up with them, do some work in the office, which is in Commando, which I'd moved back to. So was Commando the place in Paisley? Is that what you're talking about? No, Commando's in Hillington. Right. So that's where that's where the MTN office is. Yeah. And where we did the 12-week peak photo shoot and things. So I was like, right, well, the first step was to kind of move back there and still just do some hours for Sin at night and spend more of my time there. And I thought, let's just feel a wee bit better actually now. I feel like a bit more fulfilled here. And then the next step was to be like, right, okay, well, I still feel like strung out all the time, and it's probably because I'm still doing hours of group coaching at night
So up until like 9 p.m, I was getting home at when I'd been taking a 6 a.m. client in the morning. Yeah, that's a long day. It's a long day. Yeah. Whether you've had a nap in the middle of it or not, it's like, Jesus Christ, it's a long day. So I thought, I was like, right, okay, well, I really, really value, and I think like a sign of success for me would be to be able to be in the fitness industry and to be able to finish work at like 4 or 5 o'clock. I think that's a real win for someone. And it might not be everyone's idea of success. I get that. I totally understand that. But for me, that was my idea of, you're doing pretty well if you don't need to do any form of coaching at night time. That was in my experience. That was what I was always striving for, I suppose. Because it's what I always hated doing when I was working in Exercise for Less, for instance, finishing at 9 o'clock and coming back in at 6 in the morning. So I was like, right, okay, well, you know, the group coaching is going to have to go as well if that's what I need, what I want to do. Had the conversation with Dale and Ryan. I said, look, listen, I'm actually really sad to say this because we are best mates and I love seeing you guys on, it was a bi-weekly basis at that point, so it was twice a week I saw them both. I love seeing you guys twice a week. I love spending time with you. I love having a laugh. But from my perspective, I don't want to be on that gym floor not feeling like I don't want to be there, which was maybe almost starting to happen a little bit. Not because I didn't enjoy training the clients and not because I didn't enjoy being around those two, but because I knew deep down that I wasn't being
it's not fulfilling.
I wasn't being integrous. I wasn't showing integrity to myself. I wasn't treating myself like like a friend, like we're speaking about earlier on, who would have said, you don't need to do this. You can put yourself first once in your life and say, this is actually what's going to be best for me.
It's crazy how many people just power through with that, no matter how, because from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, it's a couple of nights a week. Like, why is that such a big deal? Yeah. But it eventually gets poisoned and it turns to, you're like, really, like, where's this like hatred coming out? Like, why is there so much darkness around this thing that you do love doing? I remember that vividly. I got very lucky with my first gym that I worked in. There was a model paying full rent or doing classes, and I wanted to learn the gym environment, but I was like, I don't want to get paid for it. I was like, to be honest, like, I'll help out in other ways. So I got lucky and I only had to do one class a week compared to some of the other guys, and it was 9:30 on a Saturday morning. And I was like, this is easy. 2, 3, 4 weeks in, I'd be driving home. I was like, I fucking hate this. It was only half an hour in my whole week, but that's how I noticed for myself that started turning to like real resent. For you, how hard was that conversation with it being your mates?
I'd say it was maybe easier with my mates because I knew that they'd know where I was coming from, and I also knew that as my pals that they would have my best interest at heart. The hard part about it was knowing that you're possibly leaving someone in a little bit of a tough situation with having to cover hours, but that wasn't really a major worry for me. My main concern or my main thought process was, I know Dale and Ryan enough to know what kind of people they are, and I know that they'll 100% know where I'm coming from here, and they'll agree that I've got to do what's best for me, and they both did. Yeah. Or at least I think they did. They both did a pretty good job of it. To let me know that was the case.
Fucking bastard.
I know, he's like, I fucking can't believe he's done this. But it couldn't have gone any better. Like, we had the conversation. I said more than happy to do another month. I think I maybe said 3 weeks / 4 weeks at a time. Did another 4 weeks leading up to the 12-week peak photo shoot. We did it in the nicest way possible for each other. I didn't leave them high and dry. They understood right off the bat what I was doing and why I was doing it. And we all had a mutual understanding that we didn't want to get to the stage where, like you said, I start resenting that role, and then I stop mentally showing up, and then I'm doing a bad job. Then there's an argument. Didn't ever wanted to get it there. We just thought, let's just quit while we're ahead. Let's quit while things are good.
Do you think you doing that? They were like, you know what we'll do? We'll quit MTN as well, right? You bastard.
Yeah, I think, I think it maybe kick-started everyone just to start having a little bit of a conversation about doubling down on what you're doing, and doubling down on not trying to do absolutely everything, but doubling down on what gives you the most fulfillment, what you enjoy the most and what you're passionate about and what you've got to put the effort into.
Yeah.
These were all conversations that were happening the full time that this was all kind of going on. And I'm actually glad that it all has went on. Like, don't get me wrong, like I was dead emotional when Dale and Ryan were leaving MTN, also because I was leaving Sin too. It was all happening at the one time. I actually had a very kind of like strange conversation with my mum, and I was kind of driving to work. I phoned her and I was like, this always just starting to feel like a little bit too much here. I was like, this is just starting to feel a bit odd because I know how different the next few months are going to look, and I don't like it. I was like, this is going to feel really strange. And I was like, I don't know why. I says, I'm just a normal conversation between me and my mum, like, how are you getting on and all that. We just catch up with each other. And I was like, I just feel a bit emotional today. I was like, I just don't feel right. And she was like, well, it is a big change. Like, you're a group of pals. You've grown together over the last 4 years or whatever, and now it's going to be different. And it's now double different because you're leaving them, they're leaving you, and there's going to be like a bit of a separation there. One of my clients always said to me, she's like, you don't know you're in the good old days until you're not.
Aye. You don't, like, you're doing whatever, like, and you're like,
you just think I'll be you forever.
Aye, that's what it is. And you're like, fuck, man, I wish I lived in that moment a wee bit longer.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So have you got any, it's obviously going to be extremely different, but you guys seem like a good close-knit group.
Yeah.
What's some things that you're going to kind of do? Have you thought that far ahead to make sure that you're checking in and all that?
Yeah, of course. I think, we're still in a group chat. We'll still catch up with each other. We'll still jump over to Sin for the odd session. I said I would do that for sure. I think Dale and Ryan are taking David to Dublin. Nice big couples trip. I ain't going. If anyone wants a trip to Dublin, I'll pay for it. But yeah, so we'll still continue to do things like that.
Yeah.
100%. We'll still continue to meet up and go for dinners. We'll still continue to send each other stupid videos on Instagram and have a laugh about it. That's never going to go away. And, even as recently as up to like last week, I had a bit of a situation that I wasn't really sure how to deal with, a kind of family thing. I messaged Dale and I was like, you've got a bit of experience in this side of things. What would you do? So Ryan is still, they're still the guys for me. Like, there's still people that I would go to and ask for help with stuff. Yeah. I've had some real shit shows in the past. And Dale and Ryan have shown up to give me a hand with certain stuff. So I think that's never going to be forgotten. It's never going to go away. And I think, and if it ever does, I'll fucking beat them up.
Well, here's a question: who'd win that fight?
I think what I would try to say, I would try and beat them up. I'd have absolutely no chance. But yeah, all I'm trying to say is, I think it would be really tough for us to not become to not be friends. I think that would be harder than actually staying in touch.
That's good. It sounds like it's a lot, probably, what's went into the last 4 years of friendships, mentorship, whatever you want to call it. And I think that kind of brings back to a question I asked earlier on about mentorships, and I think you've got that from that environment, probably from each other, and that's quite a cool thing to create. Not many people get to create it, but that's a great thing for that.
Yeah.
What does your goals look like now then? Where's next for you?
So I think in the interim, and you'll maybe have seen me speaking about it on my story the past couple of days, but it's figuring out what is the most optimal and enjoyable and productive week for me. What does that look like? So at the moment, I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. Being someone, like I said at the start, who needs a little bit of variety there. There isn't going to be as much of that now. There's going to be a little bit more routine. But I think as long as I'm progressing with something, that's cool for me. So as long as I'm seeing that clients are progressing, as long as I've put myself on a new program in the gym, I've started tracking my calories again, I'm going to start progressing in that side of things again. I think I've been very stagnant with my own physique development for a while now. I can maintain myself great. I've not really seen much of a push on that for a while. I want to kind of get back to doing a little bit of that. And actually, if I'm being honest, trying to do a little bit of work on spending a little bit more time just maybe doing a bit of ruminating, just actually enjoying some downtime, because I don't really love it. And that's something I worked on when I was in therapy, was working on being okay with chilling out. I hate it. I beat myself up for not moving, for not doing something, for just sitting on my arse. I hate it. I don't enjoy the feeling of I like a bit of motion. You know what I mean? I like to be going somewhere.
Well, it's also the game that you play as business owner, coach, whatever. There's always something to do, but it doesn't mean you should always be doing something. Exactly. Like you can't work all the time, or you can, but I think you lead to a very unhealthy relationship with that as well.
The new clients I've just taken on online, the kind of new group of people that I've just taken on after 12-week peak, it's kind of one of the first times that I have done it, and I've put on the PDF when I send out the initial stuff, and these are the hours to expect me to be able to talk to you at all times. These are the times and days to expect a little bit of a slower response from me. I personally have done that before, and I haven't stuck to it. I've found that this week and last week I've actually been quite good at that. That by the time I get to the gym to do my own training at night time, I'm trying not to answer.
It's helping you switch off, yeah.
Because now I have more time throughout the day to do that. I can do that, from like 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm on my phone. So that takes the pressure off there for me at night time to be able to go home, cook my dinner, chuck, some like a bit of live music on the telly or whatever YouTube video I want to watch, and just be like, and chill. And I think the longer that goes on, the better I'll get at it. And I'll also notice what it does for me, aka more energy, a better sleep pattern, all these kind of things.
Yeah. Oh, good. So you mentioned your physique there. Also, you're someone that I guess falls in the category of hard gainer. Yeah, everything is very similar to James, actually. That people looking at it, it's easy for you to stay in shape, and it's like, but it's also hard for me, like extremely hard for me to put weight on. How's your learning journey been with that? Like, what's the ups and downs with where you're at with your?
I think I try and give myself a little bit more grace with it now, because I used to just get really pissed off at how naturally skinny I was. And it used to annoy me as well when someone would say to me like, I'd come back from a holiday, for instance, and I'd lost like 3 kilo, whatever it is, because I'd be eating like 4,000 calories a day up until it, and then when you're on holiday, you eat like 2,000 because you're having like some stuff throughout the day and then a big dinner. So I'd come back and I'd lost weight, and I'd be like, God, and I'd be flat and I wouldn't look good, and people would be like, oh, I wish that was me, and I'd be like, shut the fuck up, you don't man. But now I'm just like, well, it's again up to me how I react to that. And I think I need to look at it from the majority of the world's perspective. Would like to be like me, let's be honest. Like, they would like to be like that. Everyone wants to be what they can't. So if someone's naturally someone that puts on weight a little bit easier, of course they're going to want to be someone like me who comes back from their holiday feeling a little bit lighter. But that's where my insecurities all came from. Like, it's probably the main reason for me probably wanting to start the gym, in fact 100% was to start the gym, was because I just felt so insecure about how thin I was. And I got comments about it at school. That was a sore point for me. But like a proper pain point. But people don't do things to change anything unless it's off the back of a pain point. So
that's why we dive into it in a conversation with people, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
To bring it to light.
Yeah, for sure.
How have you coped with would you say you're still insecure about how you look?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing a bodybuilding show, so I heard you speak about this, because the same thing happened to me in my show.
Yeah.
This dreaming idea in my head that I'll go to this show, I'll fucking smash it, I'll do this. Came away from that show going, feel like shit. What the fuck's going on? Like pinpointing, like I've heard you say, like picking every part of your body and going, that could be better, this could be that. Yeah. Do you look back at those show pics and go, well, do you recognise how good you look, or are you still in the headspace of, wow, you're looking really skinny there?
No, I think I look good on the day. Like, if I look at the photos now, I'm like, no, you did. You looked great. Couldn't necessarily see it at the time, but the worst thing for me about the show was, if you put yourself in my headspace of someone who hated being skinny, who's just done a diet and got down to the lowest weight they've been in a while, and now you're sitting there after the show, you're flat, your tan's off, you're looking at yourself, you're lightest you've ever been, you've not trained for a few days. That moment for me was like, oh shit, like, I've got to go on this mad high calorie phase now to get myself back up to a decent weight. Because yeah, okay, I looked great for like an hour on a stage, but I don't like the way I look the most of the time. My sleeves are all baggy on me. This is a this is a bad example because it's meant to be. Still trying. I'll go into it one day. But yeah, sleeves are baggy. My legs, I mean, you do a show, like your legs just, maybe yours didn't, but when you do a show.
Actually, I had the best legs on the physique.
Yeah, you probably would have. Like when you do a show, like most people's physique, like their legs kind of like wither away a little bit because you're on low calories, and especially for me, like someone who's not got naturally big quads, that was I just kind of had to try and forget about them for a while, and then when I remembered about them again, I was like, shit. So yeah, for me, it was like a horrible place to be in because I was like, it was kind of almost like someone who'd lost a load of weight and then put it all back on again, and they were like, shit, I've got to do this all again. Aye,
and you're just thinking about all the hardships that it took to get you there.
Absolutely.
What do you think of, so you're, I guess you love the bodybuilding style of training, am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Do you think bodybuilding, from a competing standpoint, does more harm or good?
I think it depends on the kind of person who's doing it. So I'm probably gonna err on the side of harm purely because I think too many people who shouldn't be doing it do it. Then they become reliant on the feeling that it gave them. They then get the come down after the show like everyone does, and then their only thought process is, well, I'll just go and do another one now.
Yeah.
And then they get stuck in this cycle of it. I wouldn't name any names, but I know a female that did shows, was right into it, absolutely loved it, came out the back end of it, and now has just completely like upgraded our lifestyle and became so much happier within herself and our physique, etc. And she now says, like, I just didn't see it at the time. She's like, I didn't even see what was happening to me, like mentally and physically, like because I was just so obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's an
obsession.
It's
like people coming. It's like people leaving a cult. They're like, oh my god, how did I not see it? He was being so inappropriate.
Yeah.
How I didn't see he was talking shit the whole time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that idea. You can get so wrapped up in something because it's doing something for you at that place and time.
It'll be interesting to actually dive into a conversation with someone that is in the midst of that. I'm hoping to maybe get Andy on. I'm going to try and reach out to him, see, because you worked with him, haven't you?
Absolutely.
And he's fucking great guy, absolutely great guy. And it's great to see where he's been like. Well, I seen him compete 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Never met the guy, but I seen his routine on stage, and I was like, that's fucking awesome. Yeah. And there's a part within me that I do have a love to bodybuilding, but being a coach of everyday people and seeing those quote unquote everyday people go into the midst of that, I'm like, to your point, it's like what? Why are you doing it? But I guess everyone's why is different. Here's a question for you. This might get a wee bit controversial. What's different to the photo shoots that you guys do?
There's not a lot of differences.
No,
there's not a lot of differences really, and that's, I think, where we need to. It's where people need to understand what getting someone photoshooting like actually is.
Yeah. I heard you guys done a video on people who shouldn't do the photo shoot, I'm sure, or you was talking about something along those lines. Yeah. And I actually really liked the conversation, but you've got two extremes of everything. It's like people, no, you shouldn't do photo shoots, and it's like, no, you should do them, and blah, 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 blah. And I think it's a conversation that you need to bring up, like, what is the pros and cons of doing them?
Yeah.
So why do you see it's different? Like, how do you see that changing for people then?
The only good thing I would say about a photo shoot is that there is, well, especially in kind of our like situation, there was support as a community for people going into it, coming out the back end, and then also doing it as well. And also people going to like a ball after it and having a bit of a laugh and seeing everyone else have a little bit of a laugh. Everyone was in it together, and everyone knew that it was to get to their best possible position. There was all shapes and sizes there. Nobody was getting like marked on whether they had a good body or not. Everyone was just getting congratulated on the result.
Right.
So I think that starts to frame it a little bit differently in the way that you've came from here to here. Massive well done. What an effort. Look at your photos. You look amazing. You've done great. You've had a coach to support you through it. You've also had this group chat to support you through it, and everyone's all been in it together. Whereas sometimes I feel like someone can sign up for a bodybuilding comp, they've got their coach themselves, they jump up on stage, everyone looks at them, and then they get a 5th place, and everyone's like, meh, try again next time.
Right, see, there's a ranking, that's the detrimental thing.
That was the hard part. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, obviously there's 12-week peak winners, but, you know, everyone can look at them and go, well, yeah, I mean, course.
Yeah.
They winning, and you know, you're on. It's like getting on a stage with like 500 people, not with like, you know, 8, which feels a little bit easier to deal with, obviously, once you see like how many people are doing it and how good all the results were.
Yeah.
But I think it felt like a positive experience for me. I'm not going to sit here and be naive and say that some people do have tough times coming at the back end of a diet. We all do, like everyone does. But you know, we try to make sure that we put out a good bit of information before the shoot and after the shoot via via school and via the chats on what to expect, what to also focus on afterwards. Support from us is always available, obviously, to continue working with us in any aspect that you want to do. Go and do the growth project, you know, go and work with a coach. There's just so many avenues people can go down to get the support at the back end of it. And if you're not going to do that, here's what to actually expect. And oh, by the way, if you put on, you know, a few pounds after it, or you find it hard to stick to your routine, or you have a little bit of a binge, that's normal. Like, we're all human beings. You've also just done something pretty fucking amazing over the last 12 weeks. So you actually deserve to go and enjoy yourself a little bit now. Just don't expect to keep your photo shoot physique, because that was something that was only meant to be there for, you know, a few days to show how hard you've worked, to put a ribbon on it, and then to move on to a different aspect and start focusing on something else as well.
Yeah. How many people do you see through coaching them up to 12-week peak and then post 12-week peak that end up going off the rail, quote unquote, off the rails as such? Did you think the photo shoot kind of enhances that a bit, or do you think you do a good job with the communication? I think it's hard. It's always going to be hard.
It's hard, and I think, you know, I think it would be easy to sit and blame us for running it and put the blame on us for the reason that people go off the rails after it. But in actual fact, everyone knew what it was when they signed up. It was their decision to do it. It was their decision to come and do a photo shoot. We did tell everyone that it was going to be an aggressive dieting phase and you were going to get in photo shoot shape. Everyone knows that going in. So there needs to be a little bit of responsibility taken on both sides. You know, it's like that. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, obviously we need to make sure that there's support coming at the back end of it, and we need to make sure that people have all the information that they need to make a decision on whether they want to do it or not. But by the same token, you know, it's not like we were holding anyone there, or it's not like we were shoehorning anyone in to do it either. It wasn't a case of like, no, you should definitely do it. Anyone that wanted to do the 12-week peak that had talked to me beforehand, or anyone that had talked to any of the rest of the team beforehand that we thought maybe this isn't the best shout for you, they were told that. They were definitely told that.
Yeah. Do you think it's hard because you build a great community, like, from that side of things? And I think a lot of people would want that more than the photo shoot, but it's like, hey, I don't care, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, and again, I think there was probably a few people within the 12-week peak that didn't do an aggressive diet and just wanted to be part of it, and that's totally cool too. Yeah,
that's totally cool to see.
Totally fine as well.
Cool to see.
You know, yeah, I think part of being a great coach is deciding who needs what and when they need it, how aggressive they need it, and who can be communicated to like this and who needs to be communicated to like this. People picking that up from someone is a bit of a skill, and I'd say we all do it relatively well. And yeah, I know, but yeah, I mean, I totally get it. You know, photo shoots are aggressive.
Would you ever do one again?
Yeah, I think I'll do the 12-week peak next year.
I think
me and David actually kind of said that, where we're like, let's do a gaining phase this year and let's diet next year alongside everyone. We'll probably try and finish up like 4 weeks before everyone else though, just because
those last 4 weeks
are pretty tough. I'd rather be on the ball and be able to give the clients a good service leading up to then.
What's the drive behind it? By doing a photo shoot?
By doing a photo shoot, as in for myself.
Yeah.
Just probably continually showing my clients that I'm still involved in the thing that I'm preaching. I think that's a good thing to do. Also for me, I just very much still have a passion for body composition. So I actually have a passion for.
Do you see the wee Welsh guy, like he does the assault bike and all that, the skier bowl guy, right boy? He's like he's man, talk about like body composition. He's like absolutely peeled.
He looks so peeled,
crazy, isn't it?
I know. And do you know, he's probably similar to myself in that he can just feel himself like ridiculously well, and just do enough movement that he'll just be shredded like that all the time. But I like that style of training is coming more into the forefront as well, because I think it helps people to eat a little bit more intuitively and also still be in great shape as well. And be fit too. I think
your
everyone
old standard splits of like back and buys,
absolutely.
But combine that with I done that was recent episode, the hybrid. Yes. I guess it's been classed as just now, and I think it's good. I think it's a good movement. Great. And hybrid can mean so many different things. Doesn't mean ultra marathon, but a 5K in back and buys. Yeah. It's a bit of both. You want
I
did
legs on a 5K last night, mate. I mean, so you know, and I've started getting into running again, and I really enjoy it. Alongside my usual weight training, plus that, I think that's just going to give me that little bit of an extra year, because my fitness level was down the pan a few months ago. Terrible, actually. I would be training as normal, but the minute I started doing like a heavy set of legs or whatever, like I was needing like 3 minutes, 4 minutes to do it again, because I just couldn't get my breath back, and I was like, that's not good. So that's where I think a combination of both helps.
Definitely.
Being someone who hasn't ever struggled majorly with your weight, it's not like I have to do cardio. Almost actually used to shy away from it, because I was like, well, I just won't put on any weight if I do too much cardio. So it was all about bringing my energy down.
Different ways of tackling it.
Yeah.
I like that. So what, out of all the transformations that you've had, out of everybody that you've helped kind of achieve this crazy transformation in their physique, in their own life or whatever it may be, what's like the common traits of a successful one, or of those who become successful and those who don't?
It's always the folk that just get like that little bit obsessed with it. Like, it seems to be just someone just has that like moment where they're like, oh, I just love this. Like, I would love to say that it's just people that are just disciplined, and even if they don't like it, they just get on with it anyway. It's never that. It's always the people who all of a sudden just seem to just fall in love with the gym. They get obsessed with it. They start doing what I did when I started training. They start watching YouTube videos, and they start sending me like fitness memes on Instagram and all. It's those people who are like, those people are like, oh, you can just tell, like, they just love it.
How do you get someone obsessed?
I don't think I would ever have to push someone to do that. I think you find it out on your own.
Comes natural, you think?
But I do think it helps having a good coach who's actually getting you results. Because I think the number one turn off for people in the gym is to go for a certain amount of time and not see any changes. That must be excruciating, because you must just be like, oh. And then people always go, I knew it, the gym's not for me. And you're like, boy, is that a shit coach? Do you know what I mean?
But that's interesting you say that, because I was going to ask you, like, do you have any bugbears from the fitness space yourself? Anything that like throughout your journey as a personal trainer that like pissed you off a wee bit?
I hate coaches who push whatever they are doing at the time on their clients. And I've seen it a few times working in gyms over the years, but it's almost like, oh, this is my newest venture. You know, I'm doing this now. And then all of a sudden all the clients start doing that style of training as well. I'm like, well, you aren't changing anything up per client. Now, I'm in quite a lucky position where I probably, and as we have actually just proven, to get a body composition result for someone, you could put all the males and all the females on the same program. I know you put something up about this the other day, but for that, like, about programming for each individual.
Oh yeah.
But it was even maybe this morning. But for a body composition result, if you have an individualized approach for someone's diet, for their macros, their calories, what they should be on, how many steps they should be doing, the program itself only helps to build the physique and maintain the muscle they've got throughout a dieting phase. So as long as it's hitting all the major muscle groups twice a week, the volume is right, you're bringing volume up as the program goes along, etc. They're progressively overloading it. As long as that stuff's all there, you probably can give people a summer program, and that's all that I do is body composition results. So I can, that makes more sense for me to do. But it's when someone is like doing bodybuilding and then they jump over to maybe do high rocks, and then they're jumping back in, all of a sudden they're doing this stuff, and all of our clients just seem to just do it all with them. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because the client's emulating what the coach wants to do. That's fair enough. But I really just hope when I see that it's not the coach that's deciding now all my clients do that as well. Because that means you don't care what's actually best for that person or what they even asked to do. Yeah. They're just getting given a session.
Yeah, I get where you come from. I think sometimes as coaches, though, we are almost seen as role models, and it's like, oh, I like what you're doing, I'm going to do one of them. And again, that's probably why doing the photo shoot next year will probably inspire a bunch of other people and all that sort of stuff as well. So,
of course, yeah.
What do you think of the High Rocks movement then? Are you going to do one?
I'd love to do the High Rocks.
Aye?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I like High Rocks. I know people probably weren't expecting me to say
what?
that. People weren't,
the bodybuilder, no way.
Weren't expecting me to say that, right? And I'll tell you why. So, I'm pretty sure someone told me this, and I'm really sorry if I'm taking it, but I'm going to. But
stealing the thunder.
I mean, we've all got every idea we've ever had.
Aye, from somebody else.
So, I think it's been such a nice thing to see adults competing again, because they probably haven't done it since they did football, rugby,
PE, mate. I say this all the time. I say, if you were good at PE, there's a good reason, there's a good chance that this sort of new hybrid style of training, athletics, High Rocks, whatever it may be, we love to compete. Yeah. We love that.
Also, I think it's important as adults, I'll be careful how I word this, but as adults, like, you don't ever just like play anymore. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you never scratch that part of your brain that just wants to just go and have a laugh. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people, I think, in, you know, busy jobs, people that have just so many responsibilities, there's never like an opportunity to be able to just go and compete in something again.
Have fun.
And just have fun. Yeah. And I think people are just eating that up, because it's like the entry requirements to it are low. Like, you could, not that you'd do well, but, you know, majority of people could muddle their way through one in a few hours. And I think because the entry level is low, that's why we're seeing a lot of people start off with it. Would I recommend, having never trained before, starting off with High Rocks training? Probably not. I think you should spend some time.
Get a wee bit of foundation.
I think you should get a foundation there. I think you should work on your big movements, get fit, build some muscle, all that stuff. Same goes for CrossFit as well. I think you should, all the best people I know at CrossFit did weight training beforehand. They didn't start with CrossFit, they started with, you know, just a
good solid foundation. The compound lifts. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, I think, and I do see myself doing one in the future.
Do you think that might change you to like this hybrid Alex?
No, I don't think so, mate. No.
You're already running.
Oh, wow, no, mate, I know. Maybe it's already happening. I'm not even noticing. But that for me will be a nice way to just start focusing on, you know, my fitness level too. Because, I mean, Christ, I'm only 26, right? But there does come a point where you're like, is my training even healthy for me? Like, is it even benefit me, or am I just still in this stupid hamster wheel of just trying to get bigger every year, because to kind of feed my insecurities?
That's one of the best things I must admit from my own journey that I've done, is I was so obsessed with how I looked.
Yeah, you
moving that away to like work on I done like a strongman program. Yeah, and I was like, fuck. I was like, that was so fun doing zutures, doing all these different movements that I would never do, and that unlocked a different part of coaching for me from a programming perspective. I then done powerlifting, and I was like, oh, I miss bodybuilding. I went back to bodybuilding, back to compounds. This year I done High Rocks with Jill, and we signed up with only 10 weeks. I was like, right, cool, let me see what a program would look like. In my head, I was like, right, this is what I think we should do. Spoke to a few people that I knew had done programs, and we'd done it, and I was like, yeah, that was quite fun. It's quite fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
But I think
TikTok of her pushing that sled was brilliant. That was so good.
Oh my god, she's been called trans. She's been called. She's like, well, why are we kind of idolising women? I'm like, mate, you're also
like, I've been trying to blow up online for years, mate.
The one fucking video.
I post a video of my missus.
That's what I said to Jelly, and I was like, you know what, I give up in a social media game. But yeah, like things like that. I think it's important to cycle through a lot of different training stimuluses and training styles. And you said it there, like, enjoy it, be fun with it, be obsessed with it. And obsession can come from a bodybuilding split. It can come from dialing in for a photo shoot, but it can also come from other areas. I think performance is going to be another thing you see more and more people edge towards.
Competitiveness, for sure.
Is it much in the run clubs, the competitiveness he's going to do? Like, do you think that will evolve?
Probably just competitiveness between the run clubs. Probably that's all I've noticed so far. It's just people
There's
like
so many.
People like fucking coming around a club and don't go with that run club. It's terrible and all that.
Is there a wee bit of like? Is there a wee bit of shit thrown?
I think there might be, mate. Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of that going on. I know. Like, it's funny, isn't it? Because I just think it kind of goes back to like when you were in a gym as a self-employed PT, and it was like all of a sudden someone would show up with another PT one day, and it was like, oh, why are they with them now? And it was, you know, so it's the same idea, but really the way we've always looked at it is and this happens all the time, and it's already happened right after the 12-week peak. Like, people go to work with other coaches to do another modality of training. Like, someone goes to do something else because they're like, I'm glad I've done the photo shoot, I'm glad I've got shredded. Actually, do you know what? This puts me in a really good position to go and start training for an ultra, or to start going to train for high rocks, because I've worked with a resistance training program for 12 weeks. I've also dropped a lot of body weight. Now I'm actually in the best possible position to either start off a gaining phase, because I've got plenty of room to grow now without feeling uncomfortable. And I can slowly introduce extra calories. I could go and do high rocks because I'm lean and I'm fit. Or I could go and do like an ultra because, again, I'm lean and I'm fit as well. I could start pumping more calories in the system and just get fit again.
Yeah. It's
We've never had a problem with people going to do that, because it is quite natural.
Yeah.
Like, it's even, David mentioned to me the other day, he's like, I'm gonna need to find a new focus here, because I need to figure out what I'm gonna be focusing on training wise from now on, and I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. So even
that's 30 for you, man.
I understand that. Huh?
That's turning 30 for you, because
I know.
I turned 30.
What do they call it? Is it red pill or something like that? Is that what it is?
I turned 30 and I was like, I'll do high rocks now, and I'm like, I'll do athletics. I'm like, what the fuck's going on with me?
I know.
So yeah, the last point to finish on, you're very body composition focused.
Yes.
There is an attack on body composition from time to time from the fitness space. What's your thoughts around that? So the attack, or the statement, is usually like, focusing on looks isn't everything. And I'm pretty sure, like, from the stuff I see online, you obviously know that, but why are you such an advocate of focusing on body composition?
From a selfish perspective, I'm an advocate of focusing on body composition because I know I'm a good coach for that. So for me personally, if we look at it from my perspective, I like focusing on it because I am good at that. If we're to look at it from like an ethical perspective, I can understand that having someone focus on what they're looking like for a 12-week period could come across as a little bit shallow and possibly sometimes damaging. That's up to you to be a good coach to explain to people what needs to come out the back end of that, and also support them as well at the back end of that as well. So we are always making sure that that's top of mind, for sure. Would I maybe like to focus on something that doesn't, as people would call it, seem a little bit shallow? Maybe, yeah, but I think I look at body composition results as being a little bit more than just what you see. It seems to start bleeding into every aspect of someone's life. Like the amount of feedback that we've got off the back end of that, and the amount of feedback that I've got personally from people who say, do you know what, just me trying to focus on dropping a bit of body fat, do you know what else it's done for me in my life? Like, it's given me structure. It's made me gain more confidence. I think confidence always comes from competence. So it's like, the more that you do something and the more that you continue to show up for yourself, treat yourself like your best mate, blah, 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 all that stuff. The more that you do that, you start to repair that relationship with yourself that you always told yourself you couldn't do anything cool again. You couldn't do anything good again. So although it might look like it's just getting a six pack, it's a little bit more like showing yourself that I can actually show up for myself for a long period of time. I can do hard stuff again. And I'm actually learning to like myself again. And then people do go on and do things like high roxies and do that because they're like, well, if I can do this, I can do that. And if we are the Kickstarter for that, then amazing.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good answer. So I think it's the one, my big bugbear with the space is like,
totally get it.
The stones thrown from side to side, and it's like the run clubs. Like, is it not just great that there's more people running?
Yeah.
Is it not just great that more people are working out? And that's it's a mindset that I've shifted, definitely. Because at the start, when you're a new PT, you're like, yeah, I know the right way to train. This is how you do it. Like, this is the best way to do X, Y, Z. And you go, you know what? So many ways to get into this, so many ways to skin a cat. And who's to say that my way's right or your way's right? It's like, look at all the people you've helped and vice versa. And I think that's the important part. That's why we do what we do. We're in a weird fucking part of the world where more and more people are getting unhealthier and unhealthier. You get people like you said, the gym's not for me. And it's like, oh man, it's like the gym's for everybody. Yeah. If only so many more people do lift weights. Yeah. How you go about it is different.
And again, like, you know, I think saying it seems shallow or a little bit empty to just focus on a body composition result. If you were to look at it from a health perspective, the things that losing body fat can do for someone physically is amazing. Like absolutely amazing. So if someone's got body fat to lose and they lose body fat and they lose weight, the amount of positives that come out of that for someone would far outweigh any negatives, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
it depends on how you go about it, because you'll probably see this where there'll be replicas of the 12-week peak in some sort of environment, and how they go about their program they might not have the same values, the same integrity, and there's so many different ways you can approach just that one body composition thing. And I think that's what the attack has been on. It should be a blanket statement, and I quite liked your answer of like how you're approaching it. Who's it for? Like, how does it kickstart? Like, it's a good way of thinking about it. Good.
Again, we do our very, very, very best with a topic that, like any topic, has its drawbacks, and we do our absolute best with it. And I think we're doing the best job we can. Doing a pretty good job with it. Pretty good job. What was it like speaking on stage? Was that the most nervous you've been recently, or probably? Right? Yeah, probably. Yeah. A lot of people. Yeah, it was a lot of people. I've always had this thing throughout my entire life, but I red face pretty regularly. Right at the start of this podcast, you can go back and look at it. I will see. I didn't notice it. So, but yeah, so for me, I just have always had it in my head, right, that at some point in my life, I was going to stand up on a stage and I was going to public speak. Now, whether it was going to be stand-up comedy or not, I thought you were going to say stand up on stage and just roast people. Right, okay, and I did it. But I'm obsessed with like the whole like Joe Rogan multiverse, like just like Joe Rogan, Kill Tony, his like comedy club and all that. I watch all that kind of stuff. I love Shane Gillis. I love like Mark Norman, all those guys, right? I've always watched podcasts, and I see them like going up and they always talk about comedy and they talk about like writing stuff and going up on a stage and getting laughs. And I was like, I'd love to just do that one day. Like, I'd love to. That would be a laugh for me. But like over the last year or so, I would be like, well, I could never do that, because every time I stand up in front of people, I just get a red face, or I feel embarrassed, or I wouldn't feel equipped to do that. And then obviously I said to David, I was like, I think I'll go up and do like a little thanks like for you like at the ball. Like, this was only midweek last week. Oh, was it? Was it? Oh, literally like 3 days before it or something like that. And he was like, oh, do you? I was like, yeah. I was like, I just want to kind of push myself a little bit. I just want to get up there and just this will, you know, I was like 2024 is my year for self-improvement and all that. So I want to push myself in any way I can. Yeah. And I know this will be hard for me to do. Nothing to do with the fact that I want to say thanks to you or anything like that. I'm going up there for me, all right? I am selfish. Yeah, terrible at it. But I was like, cool. I was like, well, that'll push me a little bit. And then as I started writing it, I was like, you could probably make this rhyme. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? And then as I started making it rhyme, I think I maybe started off the first line. I was like, can we all raise our glass and make a toast? And then I was like, what rhymes with toast? And I was like, oh, roast. And then I was like, oh my God, what if I just do a roast? Like, that would be funny. And the timing's all funny because obviously Dale and Ryan are leaving, so there was an opportunity to have a pop at them as well. We're all good mates. Everyone was a good sport. And thankfully I nailed it. Yeah, it was brilliant, mate. I liked it. Thankfully I absolutely nailed it. So funny. And I genuinely have felt such a feeling of just fulfillment over the last couple of days, because it's something that I've always wanted to be able to do, and I've finally been able to do it. And I did it well. That just feels like I get myself quite worked up with things that I want to do, but I know I can't. So it feels like a weight off my shoulders to be able to go up and do that. Another layer of like reinforcement in your brain of like, here, you know what? There isn't saying to do things. To like bring yourself down. Also confidence as well. Like that's where confidence comes from. It's like doing the stuff you think you can't do. I know. And I got up there and I didn't hit it ready. I didn't get a red face. So it was great. I got up there and I was like, okay, that was good. So I guess how I see it, the next 12-week peak, it needs to be a staple, the Alex roast. I think they would probably prefer it if I just sat up there like Tom Brady and they just all roasted me. I think that needs to come. That probably needs to be next year. Like, there needs to be some revenge there. Or me and David were actually speaking about it the other day. I think maybe me, David and Lewis would just all like maybe kind of co-host it next year and just have a bit of a laugh with it. So God knows, but I mean, it's funny that we start thinking about these things a year in advance. It just shows how much we love it. I think the way that it's grown, it's crazy, and it's awesome to see. It's definitely going to be bigger and better every year, and I think there's a lot to take away from that, to say that here 6 months from now I'm going to be a better coach, and you're always learning, because it goes back to what you said at the start. The PT churn was very high, and I think a big part of that is no one sort of grows their mindset or whatever it may be, their skill set. So
Are you proud? Are you proud of like the person that you are today?
I got asked that my therapist actually, I remember we were talking about that, and she was like, would 7-year-old Alex be proud of you today or whatever? Nah, that right good bubble, man. I was like, I don't know. If you'd asked me that last year, the answer would have probably been no. I think the answer this year would probably, I always keep saying probably, that's terrible, isn't it? Yeah, I am. Definitely nowhere near perfect. Still always wanting to improve, but yeah, I'm proud of what I am currently achieving. And I like to think that I'm a good human being.
Aye.
For people around me. So I'll take that.
Good. What's different from last year to this year? Like, what's the why has that changed?
I think because I have done a bit of work on myself,
right.
And I've been able to work on stuff. Whereas last year I was still very much having those issues of the kind of behaviours that I didn't enjoy.
The outbursts and stuff.
Yeah, the thing like just doing silly stuff that I've been not treating people the right way sometimes, and not, getting the job done when I said I was going to get it done. So I'd say my confidence was low last year because I kind of broken that relationship with myself again. I kind of built that relationship up when I did that show because I was like, I stuck to something for 6 months.
Give yourself the proof that you can do it.
Gave myself the proof that I can stick to something, and then it all kind of went away again. So I kind of was trying to pick that back up again and kind of like failing miserably. So I think last year, if you'd asked me that, I'd have been like, probably not, because I feel like I'm not in a position right now where I'm being disciplined and that I'm showing up for myself. I'd say I'm showing up for myself again. And the proof's in the pudding because this year's going.
You're smashing it. You're smashing it
so far.
So there's another 6 months left. It'll be exciting to see what you achieve in those 6 months. But we'll wrap up there. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time and all that.
Thank you, mate. Pleasure. Cheers.